That's Terrence Williams in the Cowboys post-game show, hosted in part by Mr. Fourth and Long, former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley, who will join us every Cowboys Monday at this time with Sean and RJ. Cowboys lose the opener to the Giants 20-19. Terrence Williams, Jess, take it from there.
Oh, you know
God,
what?
No.
Yeah, I feel bad even piling on this guy now, and I did it last night. But I took a stroll down Terrence Williams' mentions on Twitter. My goodness.
What it look like.
He doesn't stay off it, does he?
No, he didn't say anything. He has no room to say anything. But, boy, they were unloading on him. But come on. Listen, that's so elementary, right? And I'm almost willing to bet $100 to a donut that in the huddle, on the sideline, everybody was saying, get out of bounds. Get what you can get out of bounds. Get straight out of bounds. Like, just go out of bounds. The play was designed to take you out of bounds. It was an out route to go out of bounds. And that says a lot about the mental makeup of Terrence, that you can't go from the huddle, where I'm pretty sure the quarterback, Jason Witten, the tight end, the coach was telling him, get out of bounds. From the time you say break in the huddle to you lining up and running the play, that you thought getting out of bounds was a bad idea.
He had a sweet tie on, though, last night.
What did you think? What do you think happens afterwards in that scenario? Do they kick with Dan? Do you try another play out towards the sidelines?
Depending on, I don't know how much time would have been left, but if you had about 8 seconds left, maybe you run another play. Maybe you run a quick, like, little what we call a smoke screen, and you throw out there. If the DB's playing off, you throw it out there to the receiver, and he runs for another 4 or 5 yards and gets out of bounds, and you come on with 2 seconds left, and you kick a closer field goal. But has Dan Bailey let you down yet?
No, that's the thing. Like, every time it's like, oh, he's never hit from this distance before. He winds up hitting from the distance. It's
when we watched him kick the 54 and the 56-yard, it looked easy. Like, it wasn't like barely getting over the crossbar. Like, it was 10, 12 yards up in the crossbar. So that means to me, if it's 10 to 12 yards up for football fans, if it's 10 to 12 yards up from where the crossbar is at, then that means maybe you can back it up a little bit more and it'll still be good.
Yeah, I do wonder, you'd have to ask kicker this, if there's a mental thing about the number 60 that gets in your head.
Possibly.
I don't know. It's not something I've
But
ever
you have
thought.
perfect conditions, right? You're indoors.
Yeah.
There's no wind. It's on your home field.
You get the sun behind you.
It's
gonna help that ball.
You got a little wind behind you. But
Let's not let Zach Martin off the hook either. I know Zach never gets blamed. He's the perfect player, but he had a big false start. That moved him 5 yards back, too.
yeah.
If that was Doug Free, we'd be talking about it. This was retweeted 128 times. Let's keep it on wide receivers. Seriously, Dez Bryant, this is from Jesse Holley at Mr. Fourth and Long. Seriously, Dez might be the only number one elite wide receiver in the league that gets locked down by his own offense.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Well, here's the thing. We said this before. And early in Dez's career, I've been one that said that Dez could not run every route in the route tree. I've been on air saying that. I stand behind that. That is not the same player right now. He is evolved as a route runner. The thing is, and because someone stole my quote from last night and used it this morning, I won't use it again, but we look for Dez to go down the field and make these miraculous catches. And nothing is called for him in the game unless it seems like it has to be a miraculous catch. Look across the league. Every number one is getting double teamed. Every number one is getting double teamed. We go right down there to Houston. Think about this. DeAndre Hopkins had 111 receiving yards had 111 receptions last year for 1,500 yards and 10-plus touchdowns.
With T.J. Yates.
With Hoyer, with Ryan Mallett.
With Whedon,
and with Savage. He had 5 quarterbacks last year, and he still had 111 catches. Dez has never eclipsed the 100 catch mark in his career, and it's because they don't scheme up Dez to win. Everything for him has to be, I got to go up. I got to be a high wire act. I have to go out there and make the Sports Center play. When these other teams, the number ones, AJ, Julio, Antonio Brown, Demaryius Thomas, Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, all these other number ones, listen, they're getting doubled too. There's a safety over top of those guys too. There's a spy guy on those guys too. But somehow, some way, those guys and those other offenses find a way to get those guys open.
But in Dez's defense, and I totally agree with you, since Peyton's arm fell off, Demaryius hadn't done a damn thing either.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it is about the quarterback.
You take one off the list. Okay.
Yeah, it is about the quarterback.
You take one off the list. What about? I just told you a guy had 5 quarterbacks last year.
And I agree. It's
5 quarterbacks.
I do wonder if Dez is the elite player we think he is. I do wonder that sometimes.
Didn't Brandon Marshall have 1,000 yards last year with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, he did.
Do you think let me play devil's advocate.
Ted Ginn had 1,000 yards. Ted Ginn Jr. had 1,000 yards receiving last year.
What do you say to the critic who says maybe Dez is overrated?
I think that's an ignorant statement. I want to use another word, but I think that's an uneducated statement.
So you would blame it more on the offense versus him being overrated?
Of course. Come on. We all listen. We all know Dez is not overrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like let's just be honest.
Say it, Chop. I want to hear you say it. Dez Bryant is not overrated.
When did I say he was?
No, you just said 10 seconds ago you wonder. I'm not trying to get a fight with you.
I do wonder sometimes, like if we're just missing something. But no, I don't think he's overrated. I don't think. Now, if you're going to rate him as a top 3 wide receiver, then yes, he is overrated because he's not a top 3 wide receiver. All that. He's not AJ, not Julio, he's not Antonio, so he's not top 3. So if you're going to say he's top 3, then yes, he is overrated.
Here's the thing. Okay, let's just go before the foot injury, right? Before the foot injury, he was in that conversation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right?
He's a top 5 wideout.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. But he doesn't get top 5 wide receiver treatment from his own offense. And I get it. The touchdown pass, maybe he should have caught it, but that was a
How are people
catch.
getting on him for not?
But let me say
that not being a touchdown.
Right. But let me say this: it had to be another miraculous catch. And I know that we know who Dez Bryant is as a receiver, right? You have to get Dez Bryant engaged in the game.
Yes.
He had the one catch in the first half, and then you didn't see him catch another ball until somewhere, or have an attempt till somewhere like in the third quarter.
Yes.
A number 1 guy should not have 5 attempts in a football game. I'm sorry. We
were talking to Kavanaugh, and I was asking, because I'm writing down the first half. Oh, my goodness, this is offensive creativity. Scott Linehan, I'm going to write an apology to Linehan and Garrett because I always question them as offensive minds in terms of creativity. And then the second half, it felt like all that went away. And Jeff was like, well, are they scripting those first 15 plays? Did it feel like that to you? Because you're always going to get play calling criticism from fans. What did you see in the Cowboys offense besides the Dez stuff? The running game, Zeke couldn't get anything going.
I have to watch how I say this. We praise this offensive line, right? They are one of the best offensive line in the National Football League. And for so long, we always said, well, you can just put anybody back there and they can run. Anybody back there can go behind those guys and run. Those guys weren't plowing guys off the line of scrimmage yesterday. They weren't moving Snacks. They weren't moving JPP. They weren't moving Olivier Vernon, right?
Great pass pro, but
these guys weren't moving the pile yesterday for Zeke to go out there and to do his work. And again, we anointed Zeke Elliott in the preseason. That's why I said, listen, guys, it's just a preseason. We saw him carry the ball 7 times. And it was like, oh, we've seen enough. He challenged Cam Chancellor. He laid the boom on Cam Chancellor. 7 for 45. Oh, he's ready. He's ready to go. No, he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2.5 yards a carry. He had 20 carries for 56 yards. Like, and he'll go through some growing pains. But that's why I was so. You had to temper your expectations early on with rookies in the National Football League.
Should they use Alfred more? I don't know why they weren't going to Alfred more in the second half.
I talked about this last night. You can want Alfred all you want. How many 46 jerseys did you see in the stands yesterday?
It better not be about that.
It doesn't have to be a demotion. I'm just saying.
Better not be about that.
So here's where some people are just, and I'm not going to call them ignorant or dumb. You just don't know. You just don't know understand the nature of the business in the National Football League. It's about that. You don't draft the guy number 4 in the draft to sit him on the sideline. You're going to go out there and give this guy every opportunity to make plays, because what happens
That's
now,
what 20 carries is, though.
Because what happens,
nobody gets 30.
What happens now is you start giving Alfred Morris more carries, and now you start saying to yourself, well, is Zeke not what we thought he was? Wait, did you guys misevaluate this guy? How is it that this guy, he was drafted but why is Alfred playing more than Zeke? Wait,
but let me counter back.
You start having all the questions.
But let me counter back with a guy that you were in a camp with.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half of yesterday's game, will Bill Belichick have played Zeke Elliott or Alfred Morris?
Yes.
Alfred Morris.
Yes.
Right?
Alfred Morris.
Right, he would have played Alfred.
Yes.
So the best coach in the history of this league would have played Alfred Morris. But you can't play Alfred Morris because we drafted Zeke and there's jerseys in the stands.
Right. For Dallas.
But that's the dumbest thing in the world.
But that's how it works in Dallas.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. That's stupid.
That's how it works in Dallas.
Jesse Holley, this is why he's in studio, at Mr. Fourth and Long. There had to be an explanation for it. Jess obviously played for the team, but now we'll get to the main event.
Oh.
Why are we fighting over Dak Prescott? Why isn't Jesse all over that Dak?
We'll find out.
We'll talk about it next and go around the rest of the NFL. Winners and losers from week 1. Next.
Bryant's in the left slot. It's 1st and 10 at the Giant 24. Dallas trailing 7-6. Middle of the second quarter. Snap to Prescott and an empty gun. Great protection. Deep ball. Fade in the end zone left side. Bryant up in the air. Bryant caught it. Touchdown. Now throw up the X.
And it was overturned. That was Brad Sham yesterday on the home of the Cowboys, 105-3. The Fan. The boys lose to the Giants in the opener, 20-19. It's Sean and RJ along with Jesse Holley in studio, Cowboys pre and post. So 15 hours ago, Eric Snyder 07 tweeted Jesse, even with the loss, Dak looked pretty good. Maybe he's our future. Jesse responded with, he didn't play that well. I responded to that, and I was like, Chop and I, we're going to have to roast you. We know that RJ is a Dak head. I'm slowly coming around.
Don't let him influence you.
I know.
Come on. If anybody I hold a high regard to when it comes to intelligence, it's you, Sean.
Thank you.
Don't start hanging out.
But now you're using psychological warfare because I'm not going to go at you now because that was a nice compliment.
Yeah,
that was good.
Hang on, bro. Side on this one. Some NFL team does need to hire me to evaluate quarterbacks for them. Okay, I am the QB whisperer.
You've been good.
I've been. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Did we overrate Dak's game yesterday? What did you think of his play?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't outstanding. Listen.
I thought he was handcuffed.
This is what I've been trying to tell everybody. And no one has been listening to me because I'm just a bitter, washed-up guy who couldn't get in the end zone. And
right.
I'll take that. I'm fine with that. And I only had 8 catches in my career, and I only had 1 big play. I'll take that. I'm the bitter old guy who couldn't get in the end zone. Fine with me. But I told you guys before, there's no way in the world that Dak Prescott could have this entire playbook down packed. Just take a second.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Take a second to think about this. It wasn't until the second week of training camp that Dak became the number 2. Remember, he was the number 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
All OTAs.
They thought Kellen Moore was better.
All OTAs, all minicamp, leading up into training camp, Dak was the number 3 quarterback. Now, I've been the number 3 guy in a lot of places. You know how many reps the number 3 guy gets? About 2 a practice. So there's no way in the world that Dak was actually getting meaningful reps in practice, in OTAs, and all that, even with the Romo Wednesdays. He just wasn't. And then Kellen Moore breaks his ankle, and now magically he moved up to second. Now, granted, you're second, but you're still not getting all the first-team reps. Tony is still getting those. And then Tony goes down, and now you're thrusted into the position to be the starting quarterback. So it's a rush to kind of get in what you can possibly get in with Dak Prescott. So I knew coming into this game, and we saw what he did in preseason. But again, I said this before, there was only 20 plays. It was only a half. It was only a series. After you script those first 15 plays of the game, now the game begins. It's like a boxing match. The first 2 or 3 rounds is just let me feel this guy out. I know what the scouting report says, but let me see it for myself. And then once we say, okay, here's what he wants to do, we go in and we attack. But Dak, they just waited and said, okay, here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to use this offensive line and run the ball down our throats. You're not. And you're not going to beat us over the top with the miraculous plays, the touchdown home runs to Dez Bryant. We're going to make you beat us elsewhere. Dak was 25 for 45 for 225 yards. At some point in time today, get on your computers and look at all the quarterbacks who threw the ball 40-plus times. Know what their yardage was? 330, 340, 325.
But you're holding him, in my opinion, to an unfair standard.
And then
with all the things you just laid out, he's getting, he's taking over the job very late. You're comparing him to these other guys. It's his first start, which I thought was really solid.
You guys anointed him the next greatest thing in preseason.
Because he is.
He's not right now.
How many? Hang on a second. How much better does his stat line look And
it looks the same way as it did last year.
Really?
It looks the same way it did last year. 50% completion percentage for around 200 yards and 0 touchdowns.
Again, they were very conservative. They did not push the ball downfield.
Jason Witten had 14 targets. You listen.
I
love Jason Witten. He's a Hall of Fame guy. But I promise you, defensive coordinators say if you're going to throw the ball to Jason Witten 14 times, we'll gladly take that.
But how different does his stat line look, and does your impression look? Does Beasley catch the ball at the 4?
He throws it high. Keep the small guy on the ground. Next.
Okay. And the Dez catch.
All right, that's one. But great quarterbacks, when you throw for 45 touchdowns, go back and look at the stats. The guys who threw 40-plus times had 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. If you're going to make this guy great, and that's what I was trying to say all preseason.
Yeah.
Let's temper our expectations on Dak.
He's not a Hall of Famer. Nobody's putting him in.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to make him a great quarterback, great quarterbacks find a way to win football games. So, all right, you threw it one a little bit high to a small guy. Keep the small guy on the ground. Okay, Dez had to make a miraculous catch.
Cole should have caught it. I don't want to fight with the wide receiver here.
He should have caught it.
Yeah.
He should have caught it. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, all right, we'll throw a third one. You couldn't throw a third one? Find a third touch. All we needed was one more. Find a third one.
Do you feel good about him being the future quarterback?
I need more.
How are you? Okay,
I need more.
Okay. I don't think it's unfair. Look, on the surface, you're rational. I get it. We're talking about 4 games, and now we know. I thought RG3. I put him in the Hall of Fame after year 1. That was a year. So, from a rational standpoint, you're right. I just think all the signs are there for something really solid moving forward.
I think he's captured our imagination in preseason with how well he played. And it looks so much better than what we had before. Yeah. It looks leaps and bounds of what we saw before at the backup quarterback position.
Are they much better off with him than Wheaton and Castle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a guy with little to no practice time still put a pretty decent effort. I mean, who doesn't put that in the win column?
Was yesterday
the NFL doesn't put it in the win column. Right, lost the game yesterday.
Great.
That's all that matters. That's all. At the end of the day.
No, that's results oriented. Don't be that guy.
All right,
what do you mean?
Let's play better or worse with you. Do you feel better?
No, let me ask Chop this one question.
Okay.
If you don't get good ratings on your show, do you continue to have a job?
If I think I have a good show,
No. I didn't ask what you thought. If the Sean and RJ show don't get competitive ratings in this morning time slot, do the Sean and RJ show still exist?
Oh, we did for 4 years.
No.
No, it does not. It does not exist because we live in a results-oriented world.
Well, that doesn't make it right.
Don't try to have a
factual.
You're trying to have a rational argument.
You're trying to have a rational argument, RJ. He took the words out of my mouth.
This is why I go to you for the intelligence of this show, Sean.
No. In terms of having a rational debate, you're right. We're crowning him, we're anointing him, and probably our excitement getting a little bit over the top. I'm just trying to figure out why all the creativity and all my hype from the first half disappeared in the second half. And maybe the Giants, maybe we give them credit for the defense. What else jumped out to you around the league yesterday?
Is Larry Fitzgerald's ageless?
Man.
Yes, he is.
He's ageless. He's talking about considering retiring. In that same game, New England, listen, it doesn't matter. The system goes on. They just plug guys in there. Hogan, go ahead. Garoppolo, go ahead. They just plug guys in there.
This is what I said earlier. You can hate him all you want, but you have to acknowledge he's just better than what you have. The sweatshirt.
Yeah.
He's just better. No Brady, no Gronk on the road at Arizona. Win?
But here's the funny thing is, the way that they practice, and I know this for a fact because I was there, they practice for these type of scenarios. There were times in practice, and I said this before, there were times in practice where we would start the practice and we'd get in the first live period and he'd blow the whistle and say, Tom Brady is out with a knee injury. Give me the third-string quarterback with the ones. And that third-string quarterback would now run practice with the ones for the next 2 or 3 live periods. But that's how he functions. And he'll do it with a guard. He'll do it with a tight end. He'll do it with a tackle. He'll do it with a cornerback. But that's how he functions so that everybody is on par to playing in a game and them not missing a beat.
Chris Collinsworth said something last night, and it really hit me hard. He said, when we were in the meeting, the meetings they had before the production meetings, and he's like, man, how much of a fall off? Like, how are things going to change with Garoppolo versus Tom? And he said on TV that Belichick looked at him like he was insane. Like like it was a dumb question that there would be a fall off. And when you see the quotes after the game, all these guys relay that like Bill just acts like there isn't going to be a fall off. he preaches there isn't going to be a fall off. And I guess that mentality that hits home. Anything else, Jess, from around the league with some of the comebacks we had yesterday? Anything else that jumped out to you?
The Raiders.
Yeah.
That's a young team, man, that's turning the corner. Like, watch out for the Raiders and
Jameis.
And I'll say this right now. I crapped on Jameis. I thought Jameis wouldn't be good, and he's proving me wrong.
Me too.
I did. I thought he was a front runner and just a fake leader, but he's proven me.
Should we be worried about Wentz? Philly wins over crappy Cleveland 29-10, but a good debut.
I don't know. I mean,
I want you to crown Wentz before you crown Dak.
I'm not going to do that.
Good. Smart.
I won't do that.
Yeah.
I won't do that. We'll
fight.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
All right, Jesse Holley at Mr. Fourth and Long. He's always going to give you the truth no matter what. How are you feeling? I guess we'll have to ask it after tonight with the Redskins against the Steelers Monday Night Football. Jess, did the Giants surprise you at all? Better, worse, about what you thought?
Defensively, they got better. Offensively, I knew they were going to be. They had a 300 monster. You saw the kid Shepard that everybody raves about.
Cruz might be back.
Yeah, Cruz might be back. Eli, he'll give you one or two a game, and you saw Brandon Carr catch one. But offensively, they were the same. Defensively, they said, listen, you're not going to run the ball against us, and they committed to it. And you're seeing the money that they spent in the offseason kind of pay off a little bit. It paid off a little bit with the guy inside Snacks and Olivier Vernon. The Cowboys had under 100 yards rushing.
Did you notice that Marinelli blitzed a ton or a decent
off the edge? I saw a lot of Orlando Scandrick had about 3 or 4, and he likes that. And Orlando's one of the best blitzing, slot cornerbacks in the National Football League. But as you saw it, Eli was recognizing it, and he was changing the play at the line of scrimmage. And where they might have been going right into that blitz, Eli was just running back the ball left and making Orlando chase it from the backside.
Great stuff, Jess. Thank you
guys.
At
man.
Mr. Fourth and Long.
I watched the entire first game. I couldn't stomach the second game. I wasn't waiting any time to watch that boring second game. But I watched the first game, and just seeing Antonio Brown dominate the way he did yesterday got me thinking about the Cowboy game and how you had the point where it's almost inexcusable that your best player on offense by far got one catch, and for the last 59 minutes and 20 seconds, he did not touch the ball again.
He did not have possession of the ball again. Right.
Another catch, and that's inexcusable. That just can't happen. And you sit back, and, the Giants had something to do with it because they had some bracket coverage on them and all that. But looking at the most dangerous receiver in this league, and it's Antonio Brown, and how this guy gets open all the time, and you can't get Dez open at all against a Giants team they're not world beaters. They're not the best defense in the league, but it just seems more times than not, people who can scheme to take Dez out of the game can do it easily. And that's disturbing.
Let's investigate this as honestly as we can. First of all, does Dez have elite speed? No.
Elite speed?
No, he does not have elite speed. That's number one. Number two, are the Cowboys offensively, do you sometimes get a feeling that offensively they are not absolutely committed to putting the ball in Dez's hands?
Do I get that feeling? Maybe a little bit at times. I also get a feeling that sometimes this offense can look as dry as a cake that you left uncovered for about 4 days. And I'm not a trick play guy. I'm not saying, hey, run this reverse here and do a double back option pass with the kick or anything like that. But you can have different ways where you can look different offensively and give the defense some looks where they go, whoa, we haven't seen that one before. What's going on? Instead of always lining Dez up in the same spot every single time, whether you have motion, whether it's running him in the backfield, lining up there and going, you don't have to give it to him. You don't have to hand it to him, but you go, whoa, what the heck was that? All right, now we have the game plan for that or look out for that. It's just something about moving him around a little bit that I really don't see, And if I don't see it and the defenses don't see it, then they don't have the game plan for it. It just looks, I don't want to say vanilla, but maybe that's the word I need to use.
You're not missing things, but just some background here. I talked to people a couple of years ago about Dez and asked about motion. And they said, I was told this privately, he's very poor. Very poor. He does not have good timing for when he's in motion. He does not have a good feel for the routes. Now, remember when Dez arrived here, on a scale of 1 to 10, his route running ability was maybe a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because in college, he just ran down, out-muscled people, caught the ball, and ran in the end zone. So,
what's it now?
Well, the idea is they've taken away several of the possible other uses of Dez to concentrate on him running some patterns he can succeed at. And that's why some of the limitations come in with Dez.
But it seems like that time should be up.
It seems like it. It does seem like it.
Been in the league too long to take routes away.
He can run a slant.
He can run a slant. And he can run a bubble screen. He can do that. You can say, hey, on first down, we're putting Lance Dunbar in the backfield. And he'll be in the backfield, and we set, and he goes in motion all the way to the outside of Dez. The Cowboys have used that look. In fact, from what I could tell, the Cowboys, when they started to use that look last year, other teams started to copy them in putting a running back farthest outside of the receiver set. There are ways to better use Dez. What I'm saying to you is some of this is Dez's limitations. Dez does some really wonderful things. He's strong in the air for the ball, very strong. But I'm going to come back to you with, even with those limitations, there certainly are, as Mike asked the question, there certainly are enough of a variety of routes for you to just put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I guess my point is, at this particular time and point in his career, there shouldn't be any limitations. He should be a complete receiver. He's being paid to be a complete receiver that can go out and dominate a game. It doesn't happen all the time. I understand that. But, boy, there are times where I don't want to say you force feed it to him, but you have to get him involved. And I'm sure, I don't know the percentage. I don't know if it's 55% the scheme and 45% Dez. I have no idea. But it's important that all that comes together, and especially a game that is winnable, way winnable.
You know, and his targets were 5. He had 5 targets.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at the target leaders from last week, and it's just all tight ends and running backs down at 5.
And
he's on like page 3 of this thing I'm looking at.
And that's why half of me thinks that it's the scheme of telling Dak Prescott, don't do anything crazy or stupid. If it's open down underneath, you take it. It's just.
But doesn't there have to be a few plays designed just to get the ball in his hands to actively do that?
I would think so.
I mean, Allen Robinson, 15 targets. Jordan Matthews had a big game, 14 targets, double-digit targets, all the big-name receivers.
Well,
A.J. Green, T.Y. Hilton, even Tavon Austin, Kelvin Benjamin, Antonio Brown, all 11-12.
This is not a support at all of the coaching staff. Are 0-1. The Cowboys are 0-1. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Everybody's playing their second game this weekend. Teams that begin the season 2-0 in the National Football League have a 63% chance of being a playoff team. Teams that begin their season 1-1 have a 41% chance of being a playoff team. Teams that begin their season 0-2 have a 12% chance of being a playoff team. Let me extend this one further for you. I wonder what the percentage of making the playoffs is for a team that might start the year 0-2 with both losses in division.
It'll have to be way under 12.
Yeah, if 12 is for 0-2, period.
Yeah.
0-2 in the division, what would it knock you down to? 9%, 8%, 7%?
Something like that. 7, 6, 5, something like that.
There's an old Yogi Berra statement about playing in left field in Yankee Stadium, which, again, Donnie, concerns the sun. And Yogi said about the old Yankee Stadium, about playing left field, it gets late early out there. It gets late early in the NFL season, too.
It does.
Very late early in the NFL season.
Huge game for both teams, and I know each one is important in the NFL. There are only 16. But you're right. If you're 0-2 starting out the season, you're behind the A-ball to begin with. Now you put a couple balls in front of that A-ball and make that shot way more difficult because there are 2 divisional games that you've dropped. Well, it's not for Washington because they play Pittsburgh, but it's way, way important for Dallas.
Way, way important. It's hard to believe, but as of next week, over 12% of the Cowboys season will be over already.
That's why there's all the concern and talk about a game that you lose that you dominated in and you were supposed to win, because you can't let those things slip away. They're too important. There aren't that many of them. It's not baseball where you can go, oh, we lost that 9th inning game. That's okay. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll get it back. We have a lot of opportunities to get it back. Even basketball, every other sport. This is so different, and that's why you harp on games where you dominated. You went down the Facts Monday on the postgame show. Time of possession, win the turnover battle. All these other things. You don't give up this and that, and you still lose the game. That's a crusher.
In baseball, there's a phrase, and that is, lose in April, you must win a game in September. In December of this season, the game's over. We can't do anything more about it. The game's over. In December, if we look back at the season and think, Lord, I wish we had one more win, there it was.
It was right there in front of you to take.
Now, that game's over.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to do something about the Redskins, because if you don't do something about the Redskins, that stat, you're down to a historically, doesn't mean it's going to happen. Realize that means 1 out of every 8 teams that start 0-2 do make the playoffs. 7 don't. But you are starting to, so early in the season, you are starting to face a reality here. And let's move that to Dak for a moment. If he's going to quarterback, let's say, 6 games before the bye week, if you don't win this one, you have 4 left before that bye week and the potential return of Romo. One of them's the Packers. One of them's the Bengals. One of them's the Bears. And one of them's the San Francisco team that I thought was just pure junk that I may have to tap the brakes a bit on now. One hates to say critical, but Donnie,
you have to say it.
Hey,
and it's never in the NFL. It's never too early to say it. In other sports, yeah, you're in the first week, couple weeks, yeah, it's too early to say.
Yeah,
not in.
Bro, they got a bar.
I hate this stadium.
Bro, they got a bar.
I hate this stadium. And by the way, I also, and can somebody have this opinion if they just said they hate the stadium? I think it's a really cool place. I really do. Like, just there for a concert. It was very cool. I've been there for college football games. Very enjoyable. But I want to stop now and say, if you are a Dallas Cowboys fan whose main objective in your lifetime is to see that Lombardi trophy back in Dallas, you know, that they're going to have to redesign that shelf, Dan, and make room for number 6 someday. If that is your goal, if that is your dream, then I think you have to hate this stadium too. Because they do so much of the design was made for the comfort of really, really rich fans and not made to give this team as big an advantage as they possibly could have. And let me just start detailing them. We can just go right down the list. The idea that they have curtains. They use the curtains for basketball games. They use the curtains for concerts. They have the ability to block out the sun anytime they want, and they choose not to.
Dude.
And yesterday it sabotaged at least 3 plays in the fourth quarter. At least 3 plays that the Cowboys were desperately trying to win a game that may end up being the difference between the playoffs and not. And they sabotaged their own team. And by the way, as pointed out by a few emailers, and as pointed out by the grass over by the W, sun through the glass is actually even brighter than the actual sun. Like if you just open up the doors, it would probably be less difficult to catch the ball than it is trying to look through all of those window panes.
Now I know NFL rules prohibit opening or closing that dome during a game. Would the same thing, you think? Would you have to just curtain it up the whole game?
Like just pull curtains every time the Cowboys have the ball?
Yeah,
I would imagine the NFL would have a problem with that. Then let's just continue on.
But it would have to be all game long, and then the fans couldn't see the beautiful afternoon out there.
And then let's talk about this roof. I don't know what sort of competitive advantage it would be necessarily, but this is a decision that we want the roof open for night games so that the FedEx blimp or whatever the blimp is now can actually see inside the stadium. But otherwise, we're going to have a retractable roof that we never open. Even if it's 60 degrees at kickoff, even if it's 70 degrees at kickoff, it's not about the temperature. It's about the overall comfort level of our very rich fans. And by the way, if you have to ask if you're one of the rich fans or not, then you're not. You're probably not one of the ones who Jerry is really worried about. Then we're going to put a screen in there. The screen is going to be amazing. The screen is going to be unlike any screen you've ever seen. Oh, and we didn't think about this either. The screen is going to hypnotize our fans into really not making any noise because they're gazing at this unbelievable screen the whole time, and it's going to get the reputation within the first decade of being one of the quietest stadiums in the entire league. Now you say, well, it's really loud for a bowl game. I can't explain that except maybe it's their only trip there, and they're so batty and they're so lubricated that they're going to scream for Alabama or USC or whoever they're there for. But Cowboy fans consistently over the course of a season get the reputation of having kind of a neutral advantage, which obviously is contradictory terms there. But there's just not a real feel that they finish in the top 30 for home field advantages across the NFL.
It's loud when Victor Cruz catches the ball.
Yeah, let's talk about, there's a million things, and it's a really cool building, and they did a lot of good work on it, and it's super comfortable, and it really, try the catering. I mean, the bakery. I mean, there is cool artwork in there.
Okay.
There is amazing artwork in there. I don't know how that helps your team be successful. I hate this stadium. And as Dez Bryant and Jason Witten are trying to catch balls that they can't see yesterday in the fourth quarter, even as someone who in the end is not a diehard Cowboy fan, I wanted to punch my television. It makes me crazy.
But could I interest you in some art?
Tell me you're with me on this, Jake. Please.
In the long run, though,
I've been against it from day one. It looks like trash from the freeway, and it's sterile, docile environment inside that's produced by the factors that they asked to have.
It's
in the
incredible.
In the long run, a good team can win there.
Of course. A good team can win anywhere.
A good team can train outside in the Texas heat.
But why are you trying to overcome? Why are you trying to overcome something that Al Michaels insists is the greatest stadium his eyes have ever seen?
I mean, the margins in the NFL, as we saw yesterday, are pretty freaking slim. So why put something on the other side of the ledger that you don't have to overcome? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Why won't they pull the curtains?
There's a salary cap.
Why don't they pull the curtains? Like, is it out of stubbornness that he's been told to pull the curtains now that he will not do it? It's incredible to me. You should have a scientific study. And by the way, you can do this like on an Excel spreadsheet.
What did Garrett say about it? Didn't you guys say Garrett actually commented?
Football. Yeah, he did. In fact, we should play some audio here.
Do you have that?
Oh, we have full Garrett, but we have Jerry, right? Okay.
This is Jerry with David Moore.
This is Jerry with David Moore. I want you to let this just absolutely soak in.
Well, I saw that one with Dez, and I saw really Witten, those last two, and that's certainly that looking back in that sun. but to some degree, they've got it too. When they come in there, those were bright spots. Actually, I thought the sun, while it may have impacted those two throws, I thought the sun was pretty good out there today, really, relative to coming in from the east there.
Yeah, well, they didn't.
What?
They don't deal.
What did he just say?
That the sun comes in from the east, relative to the east.
Relative to the east?
No, relative to the east, it's good. It's pretty good. Actually, pretty good throughout the game. Pretty much. Yeah, those two plays, like the last drive of the game when we're trying to win the game in the fourth quarter.
2nd and 9. Giants at their 25. Manning under center. Jennings deep behind him. And a play-action fake, and Manning to throw it deep out to the left. It's intercepted at the 35-yard line by Brandon Carr.
Man, talk about a gift right there. Brandon Carr coming up with an interception. So star up to Brandon Carr. I thought Mo Claiborne had a pretty decent game as well. It's star up, star down. The Cowboys lose the opener 2019 to the Giants. Good grief. Do the Giants have weapons, fellas? Sean and RJ here on the Fan.
Do you mean on offense or on that defensive front that was able to really clog the run lanes?
By the way, 1-for-1 for the new defensive end, Olivier Vernon, in justifying his contract. He was wreaking havoc throughout the entire game. And did y'all see the shot of Jason Pierre-Paul? Someone called that a 2.5.
Oh,
yeah,
don't ever show that on television again.
That wasn't disgusting.
Stop showing it. It's like gore porn.
Like a 2.5 point stance. They were calling it on Twitter with JPP down there at the line of scrimmage.
And who was the guy in the middle? Snacks, Meal, whatever his name is?
Snacks. Yeah, they pick him up from the Jets.
Yeah, I mean he was solid in that game, and their defensive line was pretty good.
Star down to the Cowboys' run game, and Zeke had 20 for 51, 2.5 a carry. His longest rush was for 8, and he had a touchdown. I wanted to see more Alfred Morris, 7 for 35. And let me explain real quick why before we get to the calls and the text. Sometimes, and I learned this with Darren McFadden last year after reading some articles on film study and all that stuff, sometimes the veteran does know. It's not as simple as, hey, just go right to that gap, right to that hole. There is some reading from a running back that takes place up front in terms of some options that you have in working with your offensive line. And Alfred Morris showed us in the preseason that this could be a perfect scheme fit for him, and he knows when to hit it, where to go. He's just more of a veteran. And I think I would have liked to see Alfred Morris more in the second half instead of Zeke, because Alfred seemed to have something going. Now, maybe just at those times he had better holes to run through, but I would have liked to see, it's not a knock on Zeke. He carried it 20 times. I thought the conditioning was fine. I just thought as a veteran, knowing where to go, hitting the holes, Alfred Morris was doing better yesterday.
Remember last year we would wonder, is Randall just hitting the hole too quick? Because DeMarco Murray, and he wasn't the fastest guy, he was very patient.
Yes.
And look, the further we get away from him leaving, the more we need to appreciate how awesome he and this line were together. They really fit well. Slower holes open up, but they open up, and he was slower to the line, or more patient, however you want to say it. And Zeke's just, he goes right to him. He plows, but he runs into the back of his own offensive lineman an awful lot.
Yeah.
An awful lot. And Alfred Morris doesn't do that. Babe said on the broadcast he would like to see more Alfred because, as you saw, second half, Alfred started to move the ball a little bit more, a little bit better than Zeke did.
All right, we'll get to around the NFL with the rest of the league, including the Carson Wentz debut in a second, and then rip through calls and texts on the Autoflex Leasing fan text. First, in case you didn't hear from him, this was Terrence Williams on what the heck happened in the Cowboys postgame.
It doesn't bother me. I'm used to people blaming me anyway, so it's not something new. I know what type of guy I am. I know how I work, and hearing different people talk about me, that's not going to bother me because at the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm still doing my job, and I'm trying my best to put my team in the best position to win. So I can't continue to keep paying attention to what people say because they're going to keep talking about me regardless. And so the only thing I can do is just focus on what my coaches say and my teammates say. The rest of the people don't have anything to say with me.
Okay, Terrence. Okay. Norman and Rockwall. Norman, star up, star down. Your review of the Cowboys opener. You're live with Sean and RJ.
Hey, let me just start by saying I got 2 startups and I got a laundry list of star downs. My 2 startups is obviously Dak as well as McClain. I mean, the guy's stuff to run. Nothing else that we can ask for that. But my star downs is Dez Bryant, the offensive line. I mean, I think the play calling was awful. I think that, you guys just spoke about Morris. But Morris, he's real patient.
Yeah.
Zeke seemed like he was ready to hit the home run every time he touched the ball. So what I would have liked to see is we could still feature Zeke, but Morris needs to set it up. We need to set up, Morris to set it up so Zeke could come in and he could hit the home run. I just think it was awful from play calling, offensive line play. Dez Bryant got to make those plays, and I'll hang up and listen.
Good call, Norm. Now, look, the offensive line gets a star for pass pro, okay? Dak had freaking all day. The sun was literally setting for Dak while sitting back there. But the run game, not there. And I want to know how often and how much they stack the box. But if they stack the box, then Dez should be having single coverage, which takes away the double team argument.
You would think so. By the way, I do love Dak, and I'm going to continue to prop this here. Did you see the play where, obviously you did, he gets his arm tipped, and the ball doesn't come out. He throws his hand.
That was incredible.
How strong is this guy's hands that he gets his arm tipped, the ball doesn't even move? He's all just going to tuck it and run.
The most impressive Dak play to me yesterday was the throw to Swaim on the opposite side of the field. Swaim got hurt on it, but I was like, whoo, he ripped that. That was impressive. Alex in Stephenville. Alex, star up, star down. You're live on the Fan.
Oh, excellent point.
Zach, you're live with Sean and RJ, DFW Sports Station. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, start out on Jason Witten. He couldn't run block all day. The block on the field goal when he whiffed and had the holding penalty, he was holding his lower back.
Yeah.
I think that was a really issue because Vernon just whooped him the entire game.
Yeah, Jason blocking, he does get some credit for it, but he got bailed out by Dan Bailey hitting that field goal, really long field goal, 50-plus on a hold. And I got people tweeting me, does Jason Witten know how to do anything else except run a button hook? Well,
he's 9th all-time in receptions. I think he does it pretty well.
The answer is he doesn't have enough time to run anything else other than a button hook.
Yeah, he used to.
If you want him to run a post, that's going to take more time than even Dak has.
Yeah. That's his game. He finds the soft spot in the zone. He sets up shop, and he's going to go to Canton because of it. Star up, star down with Sean and RJ here on 105.3 The Fan. Let's get to Dante. Dante, you're live on DFW Sports Station. Go ahead, brother.
I got to star up on Dak. Don't want to see Romo in there unless Dak get injured. And star down on Jason Garrett and the coaching staff for not making in-game adjustments. Doug Free's getting whipped all game, and they refuse to give him some help.
Yo, Doug Free got left one time.
Oh, yeah.
Doug Free, okay, I think it was Vernon. It was the Giants. No, it was Jason Pierre-Paul. Took him into the backfield. Well, Doug Free had his back to the sideline. He was turned the opposite way, pushing JPP like towards the quarterback instead of his back towards the quarterback. And there was another time where he just got completely left as a right tackle. Now, granted, JPP, all the fireworks jokes aside, is a really good player. But Doug Free, he got left. La'el Collins, had some slip ups as well.
Well, look, their defensive line, again, this is more along the lines of the Giants' defensive line they had when they won some Super Bowls.
Yeah, Vernon, Snacks, JPP, those are good names.
Imagine, look, a right tackle, you shouldn't be going up a guy as quality as Pierre-Paul. You don't usually have that.
Yes.
Go around the league. Teams have one good pass rusher, not two.
Now, about the play calling.
Terrible.
What didn't you like?
It was too conservative.
This is Jay Jeezy. This is your boy.
It's my guy. I love Jason Garrett.
Although it could be blame on Scott Linehan. We never know who has the true controls.
You know me. I love Jason Garrett. I just thought they were daring you and challenging you to beat you with Dak Prescott and to beat you downfield. They had everybody up front. They were challenging you to do it, and they just didn't take the chances downfield. It was too much like last year. There was too much of a leash. To me, let Dak Prescott be improvising, just like Tony Romo is. Now, yeah, you want to have a little bit more of a leash than you do on Tony. But this is not Matt Castle and Brandon Weeden out there.
But I felt like we got it in the first half.
I do. I agree. I think we got it early on. They moved the ball up and down the field in that first half.
I felt tremendous after the first half. I was writing down Scott Linehan star up. They were incorporating some college things. They were doing zone read. They were putting Dak on the move. All of it was there. I'm like, and I tweeted, when's the last time we've seen offensive creativity from this coaching staff? And then second half got stagnant. All of a sudden disappeared. But this is the doubt I had going into this season with these coaches. Seriously. I like the commitment to the run game. I love the creativity in the first half. It just seemed like it disappeared in the second.
It is hour number 4 of the nation. We're at the Beer Garden on Lamar, opening up Addison Oktoberfest. It's absolutely amazing, and it starts tonight. Free to the public tonight, 6 to 11. Then you're going to need tickets, and you can stop by here in the shadow of the Omni and pick up some free tickets, Polaner Beer Stein and back window decal and more. So we'll give you a little bit more details on that coming up in a few minutes. The Polaner musicians are here with their accordion and their horns, and I see them over there. They're finishing up their beers. They're actually double fisting right now, and I think they're going to show up and do a little tune here in about 5 minutes or so. Before we get there, the predicted Cowboys box score from our friends at PredictionMachine.com has been emailed to us. They simulate every game 50,000 times, and they give you the most likely result based on the most current efficiency stats.
Does Dez have a catch?
Yeah, he does. He's got a couple of them, actually.
Yeah, 2 catches.
The big problem here, and I'll get it to you in 2 seconds, the segment's brought to you by Dickies. Since 1922, Dickies has stood for durability and performance. Every Dickies gene combines strength and comfort to work as hard as you do, and they back them with an unconditional satisfaction guarantee at Dickies.com. What I think it comes down to is who are these Cowboys without Tony? Are they what we saw last year, or is something much better in store? And I'm still holding out quite a bit of confidence because I think the offensive line can play better, and you get Dez on the right page, which there should be plenty of opportunities too. And we're looking at a rookie quarterback who I believe is going to learn. But they say the big problem is our inability to pass the ball coming up this week. 188 yards passing again. Going to be 128 on the ground according to PredictionMachine.com. And I don't know. I know in the world of metrics, recent results can be held against you, and the Cowboys have done a lot of losing. And obviously the Redskins won the division last year. But the Cowboys have been bad without Tony, and, just one win the last 2 years. I don't know if you're in the business of projecting, if you can project that eventually they're going to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So, this is one of those that I think if you're going to have faith in the Cowboys, you have to use a little bit of your imagination and maybe some of your heart.
Yeah, if you started having to make me put real money on the Cowboys, I would probably predict them to lose and wouldn't predict them to win more than 6 games. If all of a sudden you're making me put money on it, because then that kind of takes my optimism out of it, and it's like, no, this is real live money here, and obviously PredictionMachine.com is trying to help you make real money putting out their predictions. So, yeah, I was looking at kind of fantasy stuff, and they do not think Dak's going to have a good game fantasy-wise. So
wow. So, I mean, was last week what's going to happen between Dak and Dez, or was it a one-off of patheticness that won't be replicated? Is that a rookie quarterback making his first start and the coaching staff still playing conservative, hoping that game plan's going to work? I certainly hope so, but that's doing a lot of projecting on my part.
Yeah, I think 1 for 8 might be a pretty low bar. I don't like. It'll obviously be better than that, but that's kind of the world when you have a backup quarterback go in. Look what happens to Antonio Brown when Ben Roethlisberger's hurt. These guys, they're not going to make huge plays to their great receivers down the field nearly as much as they do when you have your guy. And so it's tough because we talk about don't put the pressure on Dak Prescott. Like, are you really going to tell me, hey, rookie, like, you go make us win? It's like, no, people have to make plays for this guy. But at the same time, you just look around the league, man. If you have a good starting quarterback and you lose him, your number one receiver's numbers go in the tank. That's what happens. You don't have your guy. So as unfair as it is, if Dak's not good, you're in trouble. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy.
PredictionMachine.com also says the smart money is on Washington. They cover that spread about 55% of the time. And then if you do want to bet Cowboys, the over is a decent one. It's at 45.5. And there's a pretty good chance that more points than that are going to be scored.
27-20 takes you over by 1.5. Does that sound like the right score?
Yeah.
You're confident in that many points?
Yeah.
I'm looking at predictionmachine.com, and who do you think they are going to put as like a Redskin that's going to have a good offensive game?
Deshaun Jackson.
They actually have
Jordan Reed.
Well,
as, see, you
as
can,
the tie, but will they put
Byron? Yeah, you can slow that down.
They only did that on third down. We were at the game, and that's when I was like, why is J.J. Wilcox in the game? And then I would see that Byron was dropping down to cover the tight end on third down.
Well, yeah, that, and I think you need some J.J. Wilcox for run defense, unfortunately, if those tackles aren't going to play much better. They were getting blown up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Especially the one that makes all the money. Tyrone Crawford was getting bullied.
So when we get in those fourth quarter situations, and you're right, Tyrone Crawford was not as good as we're hoping he's going to be, and I'm starting to have long-term concerns about that. When we get into those situations, is there anything else that they can do? Because this,
you could take a $10 million player off the field. You could play with 2-1 techniques. You could put Terrell McClain and Cedric Thornton out there if you wanted to.
Well, I was thinking from Rod, like, just bring the guys up at the line of scrimmage when it's obvious the other team's trying to run.
I thought that was kind of alarming. Like, I knew they were running. You knew they were running.
Yeah.
Mike knew they were running. But because they were in shotgun, I don't know if the Cowboys sold out to stop the run.
I don't think so, no.
You knew they were running. I don't care what they're lined up in. They're running. They're not stopping the clock for you.
This is where I get confused. You have a rookie quarterback. You have to get the ball back with like 3 minutes to go. You can't take the risk of – you don't have Tony Romo anymore. If you get the ball back with 1 minute and 12 seconds, I can't remember the exact time, but about that.
It was 105.
Yeah, you can't expect him to do that. You can with Tony, but come on, guys. Start thinking of what your personnel is on the other side of the ball and start saying, look, if we take a risk and we give up a touchdown or a big play – so we do, but you got to give Dak some time. He's not Tony Romo.
I hear you. There's been a lot of talk about the offensive coaching. I think it might have been equally applied on the defensive side if we're being fair this week. We're live at the Beer Garden on Lamar. It's the Polaner Tap Takeover. 4 Polaner beers on tap during our live broadcast, and these gentlemen that are prepared to entertain us now are hanging out here as well. Good afternoon. I'm just going to go ahead and call you the Polaner Musicians, something like that. Does that work? Polaner beer, awesome guys. Prost, y'all. Prost. And they have can you sort of maybe hand over that microphone and maybe we could do a little chatting with them? You got us covered over here, Ted. Let's find out exactly, who these gentlemen are. Yeah, pop up there and do a little interview with them. Like you're up there at the Allen Sidekicks game talking to the folks.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah.
This on?
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having us here once again to the Addison Oktoberfest kickoff party. This is always one of our favorite times of the year.
It's our pleasure. We figured this is the audience we want to talk to, the people that love to drink beer.
Now, you guys have been double fisting since we walked in at about 9:30.
Yep.
Is that something that is advised around this time of year? What time are you allowed to start?
You can start as early as you want.
Okay.
Believe me, in Bavaria, they drink all day long. There's a special dish that they make that you can't eat afternoon. You have to eat it in the morning with a beer and a pretzel.
Oh, wow.
It's the Weisswurst.
Yeah.
The white sausage.
Sounds like there might be some immigration plans for me. I don't know about you. Retirement? That sounds like a great retirement. So your name, sir, and then the associates that are joining you.
I'm John
here.
Slaughter. I'm the Polliner guy. And we have Wolfgang Kaiser, who's our accordionist.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Randy Adams, who's playing the guitar. They both played the Alphorn, and they will both be out there at as part of the band Auf Gates, which in German is Let's Go, at Addison Oktoberfest starting tonight.
What's your flavor right there of beer that we're drinking?
I am drinking a delicious Paulaner Hefeweizen. It's the world's #1 selling Hefeweizen, and we have 3 great beers out on tap at Addison Oktoberfest tonight. The Märzen Oktoberfest, the Amber, and then the Blonde Oktoberfest, which is a little bit strong. You can only find that at Addison Oktoberfest.
A 30,000 square foot air conditioned tent. They'll have the Draft House Beer Garden and Sports Tavern set up, so if you want to watch your game, you won't miss it up there in Addison this weekend. And what are your friends going to entertain us with here, Wolfgang and Randy?
I think we're going to do In Heaven There Is No Beer, and lead it Ein Prosit. Here we go.
Yes! I'm singing too.
Heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it here. And when we're gone from here, our friends will be drinking all the beer. heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it here. When we're gone from here, our friends will be drinking all the beer. Can you do it in different languages now?
Oh, they will.
All right.
I made them play this for just me earlier.
All right. In heaven there is no beer. Beer.
That's why we drink it here.
Drink it here.
And when we're gone from here,
our
friends will be drinking all the beer.
Now we sing in German, la 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 la. And now in Czech, la 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 la. And now in Japanese, ra 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 ra. And now in French, oui oui.
So offensive.
Da gibt's kein Bier, kein Bier. Und trinken wir es hier. Und wenn wir nicht mehr sehen, dann saufen die anderen unser Bier. Now in heaven there is no ale.
No ale.
That's why we look so darn pale.
Pale?
And when we're gone too, our friends will be drinking all the ale. Yeah. La 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 la. In heaven there is no beer.
Yeah!
Glasses high, lift your glasses high.
Lift them high.
Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Eins, zwei, drei, super. Ticke, 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 ticke. Hoi, hoi, hoi. Ticke, 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 ticke.
Hoi, hoi, hoi.
Ticke, ticke, ticke.
Hoi, hoi, hoi.
Randy and Wolfgang, thank you so much for entertaining us. It is a scene here at the Beer Garden on Lamar, kicking off Addison Oktoberfest 2016, the 29th year they have done it. It is an amazing event, and it's an honor to be here thanks to Pull Honor Beers.
All right, let's find out what really happened with the Cowboys opener and preview the Redskins. Let's see who's going to get to 1-1 with Bryan Broaddus from DallasCowboys.com joining us on the AA Best Bail Bonds phone line with Sean, RJ, and Mac. And Bryan correctly predicted that the Giants would win that game. He told us the D-line and defense would be much better than last year. That proved to be correct as well. Broaddus, good morning, man. How you doing?
I need to retire after being saying all those things. It's nice being with you guys. Enjoy the run the Rangers are about to go on.
That's right. Yeah. What was the most, between Twitter, Talking Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com, Listen to the Fan, what do you think was the most overblown storyline from the opener?
That's a good question, and I knew you were going to ask me that. But I think that, to me, the thing that bothered me the most at the end, I think a lot of blame was placed on Terrence Williams for that final play. And, and I think that if you go back and study, and again, Terrence, I understand you got to get out of bounds. You got to find a way to make that, to make that work, to at least give them an opportunity to kick the field goal. But if you go back and watch the tape of what happened on that particular play and the way that Terrence came down with the football, he's lucky he didn't fall right there on the spot and then the clock run out anyway on him. I think that if you look at the way the play developed and the way that that Rogers Cromartie was in position, I mean, it was going to be a foot race to get out of bounds anyway, even if he was able to stay. His body, the way he caught the ball, the positioning, I don't think it allowed him to be able to turn and get to the sidelines. I mean, I think he realized that once he got his balance that he was going to have to go forward, and really that's ultimately what happened to him. I just feel like, though, that there's a lot of people putting blame on him about not getting out of bounds, but I also believe the way he caught the ball and his body position and how he came down that really affected his decision on what he was trying to do.
Interesting. Do you have a problem? This is a huge storyline. Do you have a problem with the creativity or play calling of the Cowboys offense?
I have a problem with the fact that I think that Dez Bryant needs to run the routes that Cole Beasley runs down on the goal line. I think they had a great call. They had Dez clear, and then they had Beasley come underneath. Now, I will also say this, though, they were facing a blitz coming right into Prescott's face from that side of the field, which would have been the left side of the field. And, and he felt like, though, he got Rogers Cromartie in the air, and then he came down, and he had to really put some height on the ball to get it to Beasley. And if that's the case, then you need somebody taller in there running those routes. And I feel like you need to see more of Dez Bryant catching the ball on the move. If it's the slant, if it's the shallow cross, something creative to get him going. I thought the fact that he caught the second play of the game, that he got a pass, usually you have to get Dez into the game and get him going. And, I do have a problem with their inability to find ways to get him the football, especially on the move. The vertical routes that he runs, the tightrope plays that he makes are outstanding because he's usually going to come down with the football. But you got to be a little bit more creative with allowing him to use the things that he's able to do, the God-given talents of driving and making people feel uncomfortable having to cover him.
Broaddus, we know Dez was doubled quite a bit, but
11 times actually, 11, and then 6 times on third down.
Okay, but on the other 30-plus pass attempts, was he open and they didn't see him, or was he unable to get open?
Well, no, there was a couple different times he was open, but again, the ball was going underneath, whether to Beasley or to Witten. That seemed to be that. And I don't think it's Prescott being conservative. I think that Prescott felt like that. He needed to make a play, and he needed to make a play in order to keep the sticks moving. Their inability to run the football during this game really hurt their ability to get the ball to anybody other than the receivers they were getting. They were in a lot of long yardage situations, and they had to try and find ways to get first downs, and that's why they were able to run so many plays and the time of possession and all that. But yeah, there were a couple different times where Dez was open, and but there were other guys open too. I'll tell you a guy that had a good game that didn't get into the opportunity was Bryce Butler. There were several times where he was open that the ball didn't go his direction as well.
Bryan, when you look at the front seven defensively, who did you think who amongst that front seven, Bryan, has a high ceiling and a chance to actually make an impact against the passer?
Yeah, I think that, we saw Benson Mayowa have a couple of rushes there. He was close more than not. He had the sack. It was a good effort play on his part. They were playing dime at the time, Mac, so they had him covered up in the back end, and that's what's going to happen. If you can cover, this is where they're going to get some guys home. Usually, too, if you sack Manning more than 2 times, they lose. That's a bad number for them, but it didn't work out that way. But I think that if you look at Benson Mayowa, he can rush off that edge. He's going to give you that relentless type of effort over there. And then, I thought that you would get a little bit more push from the middle. I've come on the station and talked about, I thought the defensive tackles were the strength of this team. And I saw that with the way Terrell McClain played, but that was really, really it. I mean, Cedric Thornton was good if you look at the numbers. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. Manning's a difficult quarterback to sack anyway, and the fact they got to him twice, I think that was going to bode well for him. It just, again, didn't work out for him.
Brian Broaddus, DallasCowboys.com, right here on the Fan. What was the difference between Alfred Morris running the football and Zeke?
Yeah, the biggest difference is the fact that when Alfred Morris ran the football, you had guys actually blocking for him. And then when Zeke ran the football, and you can count them up, I went on film and did it, Jason Witten's man, and these are combination plays, whether it's a defensive end, defensive tackle. I had broke down 11 defensive end tackles, 11 defensive end tackles, 9 defensive tackles, 2 linebackers, 4 safeties. And if you look at the breakdown of the different problems, Witten had his guy got there 5 times. Doug Free had his guy 4 times. Lyle Collins had 5 times. And then Frederick had 2. Martin had 3. And then Tyron Smith had 2. So if you look a wide variety of when the plays were blocked, that Alfred Morris had a better opportunity to run. He had more space. Where if you look at when Zeke was running the football, like I just said, I gave you a bunch of numbers that probably give you a little bit of a headache. But you talk about Lyle Collins, 5 times his guy made it to the ball, and then Jason Witten 5 times his guy made it to the ball. So you got to be able to block at the point of attack if you want to have any success running this football.
The Redskins got whooped by the Steelers. They could not stop D'Angelo Williams. They had trouble running the football. Kirk Cousins did not look sharp. Josh Norman did not follow Antonio Brown. What is a matchup or a couple of things you're looking at with the Cowboys and the Skins on Sunday?
Well, I think you need to look at on the Redskins side of the football is they've got some incredible talent, especially at wide receiver. And, Jay Gruden comes out and talks about he wants to run the football. Well, he doesn't have anybody that can run the football. So that's his biggest problem right there. You could talk about it all you want, but this is a team that's got multiple wide receivers. They've got a tight end in Jordan Reed that you need to treat like a wide receiver, and I think that's what the Cowboys have to be concerned about is, okay, we can cover Pierre Garçon, we can cover Deshaun Jackson, Jamison Crowder, Josh Dotson. I mean, they've got some guys. I think this game is really going to hinge on Jordan Reed and his ability. If the Cowboys can kind of hold him in check, he's one of those guys that can go into a game and average multiple touchdowns. So you have to be careful. And so I would look for the Cowboys to try and treat him as a wide receiver more than just a tight end. On the defensive side of the ball, attacking people, it's obvious that Breland didn't play as well as he did, and they're a little bit different front too because again they play a 3-4 like the Giants were a 4-3. So teams were able to, like I say, Pittsburgh did a pretty good job of blocking them at the point of attack. I always worry about, in this game, I always worry about a guy like Ryan Kerrigan, and he's going to go up against Doug Free. But then, they need to attack like on the other side with Preston Smith being over there, the opposite. Maybe stay behind Tyron Smith and try and run this football and have a little bit more success than they did last week.
Have you picked this one yet, like last week?
You usually ask me that question at the
day before.
You usually ask me the day of the game. You usually ask me that. You say, "Hey, you got an idea which one?" So, give me a little bit more time. I got to figure this thing out. I got to go through a couple more practices here and see what they've got and what the kind of the plan's going to be.
Real quick, you like this new player that the Cowboys signed up front?
Yeah, I do. I think that when you talk about Ryan Smith and what he can bring, I mean, he's a little bit of a guy. Yesterday, I heard he didn't practice. But I like what I saw. My report about him is on DallasCowboys.com. So if everybody would like to go and take a look at that, he's one of those guys that definitely, you look at his ability to rush the passer. He was like a nickel rusher for Jacksonville. They moved him to linebacker this summer, and that's really not his cup of tea. He's a hand in the dirt, get around you type of guy. So check him out on DallasCowboys.com.
Great stuff as always. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate you.
Machine, Bryan Broaddus, DallasCowboys.com on the AA Best Bell Bonds phone line.
It's like going into Wisconsin.
Well, I got the kicked out of me in Wisconsin once. Forget it.
Snap count on my mind, robo hand on my butt. What? I'm the center, and that's what's up. Yeah. I touch the ball on every play. And if you see me coming at you, it's time to pray. I got a big beard and a real mean streak. In the bedroom, I'm a super freak. I once say the whole honey baked ham. Ask a DT who the I am. My name is Frederick. Yeah. Travis Frederick.
I love Tyson on the background vocals.
My name is Frederick. Yeah. Travis Frederick.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our extreme honor to welcome back once again the greatest center in the history of mankind. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the great Travis Frederick.
Yeah. Holy
guys.
Woo! Holy butt.
Woo! Wow, what an introduction.
Travis. Hey, were you chanting that with us?
Oh, yeah. You couldn't hear me?
Okay, good.
Turn me off?
Okay, good.
I heard you, dog.
Okay, good. Hey, this visit with Travis Frederick is brought to you by both Miller Lite and Dr. Pepper. Very excited to be doing this with you once again. Travis, when you were faced with the idea of once again doing weekly interviews with the Ben and Skin Show, walk us through the emotions you felt, and feel free to spend the next hour talking about it.
Well, first of all, I was absolutely terrified. The thought of having to spend another 16 weeks fielding these impossible questions was daunting at first, but the more and more I thought about it, my relationship with KT has grown so much over the past 2 years that I think that he's really the reason behind it all that made me want to come back.
Yeah, KT's been talking about the fact that he's kind of been nurturing you behind the scenes and really mending fences and building bridges and other metaphors that we like to use when talking about things like that.
Yeah, he did actually come over to my house and fix my fence. That was really nice of you, KT. I appreciate that.
He's got some sick carpentry skills. But yeah, no, man,
I'm just curious about this because, like, let's say that football player, so somebody develops a relationship with Romo, they might just go out into a field and throw passes to each other. Does KT come over and you just snap him the ball in the backyard?
Well, I don't know if we're to that point yet. I don't know if I'm comfortable with his hands in that area at this point. But I definitely am open to the idea of doing shotgun snaps with him in the backyard. Now that he's got the fence all fixed up, no one's going to see us. It's going to be perfect.
Which fits my, I'm a running quarterback, so it kind of fits my fits the scheme a little better.
That's true. You'll be able to survey everything from there.
KT, you want to come over and do some zone read snapping with me? I think that'd be a lot of fun. Man, we really enjoyed last week, Travis, when you brought Zach and Tyron with you. That was a lot of fun. That was really, really cool, and we appreciate you guys making the trek over there to do that with us. How is Lyle Collins coming along in turn? Because you guys kind of have like a mini line fraternity going. Mm-hmm. How has Lyle come along in the last week in terms of fitting in with all you guys?
Just in the last week?
No, I'm sorry, in the last year. I apologize.
In the last year, I think he's come a really long ways, and I think it's been such an improvement for him. It's been a process. It's hard to come in and really understand everybody, and also trying to understand the playbook. So after he got everything kind of figured out as far as the playbook went, and he spent that time learning and accepting everything that we're doing, I think he's really come a long way, and we're happy to have him.
Now, you use the word accepting, so he fought back a lot early on and then eventually submitted?
No. I would say it's a process. As it is anywhere, when you come into a new job, let's call this just like a regular job. Anytime you come in, there's all your new coworkers that you have to learn how to deal with and learn how to fit in with, as well as learning your new role in that workplace environment.
Oh, so you're saying he had to come in and he better know his role.
Right,
exactly. Really hammer him on that.
Talking to Travis Frederick here on the Ben and Skin Show, courtesy of Miller Lite and Dr. Pepper. Two great tastes that taste great together. Now that you've gone back and looked at the Giants game, what were sort of some of your takeaways as to how your particular unit, the offensive line, performed?
I think that it was certainly a starting point for where we can go this season. I think that there was some things that we didn't do as well as we wanted to do, and there were some things that we did pretty well. So whenever we talk about the season, we want to improve every single game. You talk about improving every day, but it shows up on game day. We want to improve throughout the year so that we can be our best at the end of the year and put our team in the best place we can to be successful. That being said, there was some things that we want to improve on, and we've gone back and worked on that this week. Hopefully we can show it on Sunday.
Yeah, we were going back and looking at some of the screenshots. The people that were watching film were posting them, and man, it looked like a lot of times when Zeke was in the backfield that there was 17, 18, maybe 25 people in the box. I mean, I saw assistant coaches, people holding. I mean, it was just very crowded. Yeah, it was a stacked box against Zeke, right?
Well, I think that's a challenge that we're going to face on a regular basis. Obviously, we saw that last year as well. And with a lot of people down around the line of scrimmage, they're going to try and find a way to stop the running game, and that's pretty standard throughout. So we just need to come up with creative ways to be able to attack that, and also make sure that we're doing our jobs on the offensive line and the blocking surface, if you will, with the tight ends and wide receivers, to be able to give those running backs an opportunity to make good big plays and be successful.
This may not even be a reasonable question to answer, Travis. Feel free to dunk on me, but I don't know what to expect with a rookie quarterback, any rookie quarterback, in terms of, all right, so this looks like this play isn't going to work. Does he have, at this point in his level of experience, the ability to audible the way that he needs to, or change things the way he sees fit, or is that still too early in the process?
No, I think that he's done a really good job of taking in all of the coaching that he's been given, and I think he's come a really long way in the time that he's been, quote unquote, the starter. So I think that he has that ability, and I think he's done a good job showing that throughout the week and last week as well, trying to get us in the right situation. And I think that comes from the system as well. You learn the system, and the system has those sort of things built in.
So now that you guys have gone back and looked at the tape, did you find like things that are easy to fix moving forward, or was it a productive film session? Are you guys inspired and motivated, and you know what I mean? Did you guys see a lot that you can fix?
I would say that every film session that we have is productive, in that you're always finding those little things that need to be fixed. And I think it is, like you said, on the first part there, that there are those little easy fixes that just need to happen. And we work on that during our individual periods during practice, and then try and translate those into group periods and team periods, which eventually translates onto the field. So I think that the improvement that we've been making hopefully will show up on Sunday.
How much is Tony involved? I mean, we all look at him as like another coach. And, I know he's dealing with some level of discomfort with his own injury, but we saw him on the sidelines on Sunday. How much is Tony able to be involved in helping Dak game plan throughout the week?
I can't specifically speak to how it is in the quarterback room because, unfortunately, they don't let my pay grades to sit in with those guys. But they are doing a good job of letting Tony be an influence there and using his experience to Dak's benefit. And you see him around. You see him giving those tidbits of information and experience. And Dak's a guy, he's kind of like a sponge. He's always looking for those things to learn and gain that experience without hopefully having to go through some of the same issues or same life experiences.
Man, we're very proud of you. We were nominated to be a captain, voted to be a team captain for the Cowboys. That's a great honor.
Thank you.
And it's hard for us to know what's real and what's not real. There was a rumor that you went and got a giant C necklace, like a C emblem on a giant gold necklace with diamonds, and you wear it all around with a fur coat. Is this accurate?
I would say that is a non-accurate statement, but you're welcome to believe whatever it is that you want.
Right.
Just don't push that out too much. That's really not me. No, that's it's certainly been a humbling experience to learn how my teammates, really feel, and it's such an honor to be put in that category.
But you did tattoo a blue C permanently on your shoulder.
The tattoo also hasn't come in yet. You got to worry about that in the season. You got the swelling and everything. That could be an issue.
Okay. All right. So what about you commented on the necklace and the tattoo. What about the fur coat?
The fur coat also hasn't happened yet. I just haven't had a chance to get to the store to be able to do that. But if you'd like to borrow me one of yours, I would be happy to try it on and see if we could get it over the shoulders.
I heard he was so extravagant now he made a fur boat. It's just a fur boat, just like an outrageous expenditure. Hey, got fur all over my boat, guys. Who wants to go fishing?
I think you are one of the most practical, frugal, smartest with your money athletes we've ever encountered.
Thank you, man.
And Travis is as well.
Yes,
Skin.
he is.
I seriously, in all sincerity, we've been really impressed with you, getting to know you, and you're smart with your money. You're going to do very well in that regard. But you just got a big old contract. Are you going to do anything to, cut loose a little bit and treat yourself?
At this point, we don't really have anything completely in mind, but it is nice to know that I'm going to be able to use this opportunity to be here in Dallas for a long period of time. It kind of gives you that feeling of security in that when you're going to be here for a long time, you know that you don't have to worry about what's coming next year or if you're going to hit free agency in 2 years. I know I'm going to be here for a long time.
Is your wife, sensibility-wise, similar to you and how she views money? In other words, if I didn't have my wife, I would be broke. Like, my wife is way smarter about spending money than I am. I think it's, so sometimes there's balances there. Like, who's more prone to go blow money, you or your wife?
Well, I will say my wife is much smarter than I am in general, so she keeps me kind of on track moving forward. But I'd say she's pretty good at that. We both come from the same small town, and for us, our values kind of fall in line together. So I think the things that we're looking to spend money on or things that we want to do in life kind of go together down the same path. So we kind of keep each other in check.
Brother, we want to thank you for once again agreeing to put up with our really dumb questions. Yeah. Right about now, you're probably wondering why you did it, but we're truly honored to have you back, and we're looking forward to talking to you each week during the season.
Awesome. I'm glad to be back, and I'm excited to be with you guys.
Awesome. Love you, dude. Hey, would you mind power ranking everyone on the show real quick before you go?
Everyone on the show?
Yeah.
Number one is KT.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have that relation. Oh, I'm sorry. Number one, KT. Number two, I'm going with Ben Rodgers.
Yes. Man, that's shot fired.
Number three, Shippy Fun Sports.
Oh, that's great.
Music
Number four goes to Skin. Yes! Only because when I was listening on my way home yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
You guys did the bit, and you really threw me off with the snake bit.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it really hurt me deep down inside. I was very concerned. You can ask KT. I literally texted him and said, what's going on? Like, is Skin okay?
Are you the guy from the Snake Institute on yesterday?
Yes, that's
Gary
what I'm talking
Garfield?
about. Gary.
Man, that got so dicey.
He didn't really know a lot. Travis.
I was very concerned.
Well, he's doing a lot better now.
No
so thank
regrets.
you. No regrets at all. Travis, thank you for your time, man. We appreciate it.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
All right, there he goes. The great Travis Frederick.
Travis, a quick thought on Pangea.
Travis?
Mr. Frederick?
That was brought to you by Miller
Captain
Miller Lite and Dr. Pepper. I promise, about, a minute 15 into that, he was like, good God, why am I doing this?
He knew what was coming his way.
I hope it was worth it, my friend.
I love that he listens to the show.
Yeah, it's pretty
I love
awesome.
that he listens to the show.
How are you going to get Dez Bryant open? And
I told you earlier today how I'm going to get him open,
okay.
Corey.
All right. I'm fascinated by your perspective on things.
Simple.
And I want to hear more from the fan techs, the master peeps out there. How do you, because I've seen a lot of this on social media, and when I posted the story at 1053thefan.com, it was less about, hey, you got to force him the ball, and it was more about, look, here's kind of what they were seeing. And there were a lot of double coverages for Dez Bryant. There's 17 out of the 45 passes thrown. And I didn't count how many times they just had a screenplay built in. So that takes away that as well, because you're not even looking at Dez on a screenplay. You're saying, okay, we got to drop back and throw to this. The mindset of Dak Prescott, I still believe, all week leading up to this game, they were saying, in pre-snap, you look, and if you see a safety over Dez and a cornerback, then whenever the ball's snapped, you look one more time, and if they're still there, you go to your second option, because that person will be open. So I believe that's what it was, is that the Cowboys had told him, your clock needs to be 1, 2, boom, get rid of the ball. And that's what it looked like throughout the game, was he was getting rid of the ball. As soon as he looked and saw double coverage on Dez, he went to the next option immediately. So I feel like that was kind of the game plan, and then people are like, oh, why can't we get the ball like they do with Larry Fitzgerald and Julio Jones? Why don't we run more? Why don't we do more rub routes? And I understand that. I understand it. It's also a rookie quarterback. A lot of people are not considering this is a rookie quarterback, and then you throw out, yeah, but this has been the same way for the last 5 years with Jason Garrett. Well, you've also had an injured Tony Romo a number of times with Dez Bryant.
Okay, so
how are we going to get Dez open? What is it that you want to do to get Dez open more?
All right, I got 2 plans.
Because I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to go watch the Redskins, and I'm going to look at what the Steelers did against them, and that's what the next piece I write is going to be about, is how to beat the Redskins.
Okay, I got 2 plans. One is possibly more viable than the next. I'll let you decide. First, hope that the Redskins run the exact same stupid defense as they did this past week, where they only keep Josh Norman on one side of the field and then put Dez on the opposite side of the field.
Okay. So path of least resistance is exactly where you want to go with this.
Look, okay, I get that it would be a neat story if Dez caught 8 balls for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns against Josh Norman. But if you told me he has to go up against the worst player in the NFL based on Pro Football Focus last week, and he catches 10 balls for 180 yards
or the
and 3
exact
touchdowns.
same numbers you just threw out.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Great. Because we're probably going to win that game.
Like with the Mavericks in their championship mismatches.
Yes.
That's how they won the championship.
Now, if you can't count on that, I got another idea.
All right.
Now, you might only be able to run this once, but it's going to work, and it's going to work huge. Double reverse from Dak to Dez, who then gives it to Alfred Morris going the other way, and Dez hits the opposite sideline, so while everyone converges on the left side and goes after Morris, he throws it to the far
Alfred
right
Morris
side.
throws it
That's right.
Okay.
Where Dez is open, razzle-dazzle. Think about it. They'll never see it coming. I know you're going to be like, well, that's because it'll never happen. All right. I implore you, Jason Garrett. I know you're working hard. Think about it. of all the coaches in the NFL, who is the least likely to run a double reverse Alfred Morris pass to Dez? Well, like, take out the names. And, like, who's the least likely to do that? It's Jason Garrett. Set it up. You only have one chance to execute it, so get it right. 75-yard touchdown.
But that's only one touchdown. I mean, we scored one touchdown last week.
Though. He only had one catch for 8 yards last week. This is a huge improvement.
I mean, don't forget he had a touchdown taken away. I mean, all he had to do was catch it.
Okay, well, this time he can drop the ball and still pick it back up and run in because everyone will be on the left side of the field.
From the 4-6-9, put him in the slot a player to not just running vertical routes. Okay.
Yeah, the go route. Run something different.
He was in the slot.
Yes,
he was in the slot a number of times. The other thing is, you're right. Every route he ran last week was 10 yards or more. Dez Bryant is a game breaker. Basically what happened is when you watch what was going on, anytime somebody got the ball, a lot of times it was after Dez cleared the space for them by taking the double coverage, and it was Cole Beasley one-on-one with a lot of space, or Jason Witten one-on-one with a lot of space. So Dez basically became a decoy and was just clearing space for people to make plays. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, okay, why can't you do that for Dez Bryant?
Right.
Well, one, nobody respects Cole enough yet to say, okay, we're going to double him. So if you put Cole Beasley on the outside, he's not going to get the double coverage that Dez Bryant's going to get. Now, over time, if they continue to do this, it might build, and you might have to start saying, okay, they're going to go to Cole. And then you get a game-breaking moment with Dez. That's the thing, though. Dez Bryant is a game breaker. So get him the ball within 5 yards and see what he can do. Because he can break a play open on a route under 10 yards.
Now, Corey, I'm curious. We talked about this a little bit in pre-show. And looking at some of the routes that Dez ran and some of the ways that the plays ended up happening throughout the game, there were a lot of times that Dez was open down the field. And you mentioned the progressions and getting Dak comfortable and making sure he wasn't making mistakes. Now, I understand that. That's all fine and good. But you also have to realize that this is a quarterback playing behind what might be the best offensive line in the league. He's going to have that extra second or two, and if he can just be patient enough to go back to that first read and see Dez Bryant, there were plenty of times where, yeah, right at the beginning of the play, you have a cornerback, a linebacker, and a safety all shadowing to Dez, but 3 seconds later, the cornerback is the only one there.
Well,
and Dez is beating him.
And Tony has that anticipation. Dak doesn't have that anticipation yet. So what I'm saying is, in that instance, there's a small seam for Dak to throw through the linebacker, safety, and cornerback. There's a very small window. And Tony knows that window. Dak doesn't yet.
See, no, I agree with that. But how important was that last game then to get the real-time, regular season, fast-paced feel for how many seconds you actually have on a play-to-play basis? Because, like, you can theorize all you want and say, I should have this many seconds. But now he's actually seeing, oh, I have a quarter second longer than I thought. Maybe that gives him the opportunity to do what Parker said and go back round and get to Dez. So I do think that maybe you'll see some of that progression.
I do want to point out, though, that Julio Jones' team lost. So did Larry Fitzgerald's team. I mean,
not Antonio Brown's team.
Not every, well, and that's
good news, though, because that's who we're playing against this week.
Because of their idiotic defense.
And that's another thing, too, though, is you look at Antonio Brown. He was thrown open by Ben Roethlisberger a couple times. There are times when Dez is underthrown by Dak Prescott still. So, like I said, Dak still has some growing to do before this team completely trusts, okay, we can feed the beast here. Let's go ahead and try and run an offense, get him used to running the offense, and see if we can win a game doing that.
And the other thing I would really like to see is if you go with a couple of shorter routes for Dez, give him a chance to do something with the ball in his hands.
Clear out that, you got to figure out how to clear out that space for him. And that's why I was saying, you can get him under 8 yards. You can get him under 10 yards
see what he can
and let him break the game open
for sure.
The offense that I saw last Sunday reminded me a lot of a few years back when Tony Romo was coming off of his first back injury, and the only plays they ran were plays that sent Dez deep to clear out for the other options closer to Tony. And I hope that we don't have to see that for the entire season, because this is not Tony Romo. This is not a guy that's physically unable to throw the ball 20 yards down the field.
Or physically unable to really keep a play going a lengthy amount of time again and again and again.
And this may be a guy who's better when he's running mobile out of the pocket, getting the ball out, than he is just standing back there in Dak Prescott.
From the 817, when do you plan on running that play, Kevin? Best would be in the first half.
Ooh, I can see why you would say that, but here's when I'm going to do it. First play of the second half.
Oh.
Because you're coming back and you're thinking, hey, let's all get used to the game again. They're gonna run Zeke. No, seriously, tell me that you've never had that feeling coming back from halftime and you feel comfortable with a run play because you're like, all right, we're all getting back into football mode. Now's the time for the double reverse.
Just ask Sean Payton.
Yeah,
right? Isn't that the best time?
They were not prepared for that at all.
And as long as they followed up with a flea flicker, I'm okay with that.
Well, you won't need to because you'll be on defense next because we scored a touchdown off of that play.
Joining us now on the AA Best Bail Bonds phone line, one of our very favorites, the great Joe Theismann on 105.3 The Fan. Joe, how you doing? Good morning, man.
Good morning to you guys. I'm doing really well. Great week.
Joe,
great week coming up here.
Yeah, it is. Who do you think needs this game more between the Redskins and the Cowboys at 0-1?
I think when you look at where they both are, being that the Redskins are playing at home, I would probably say the Redskins because they're playing in front of their fans. They did not play well on Monday night against the Steelers, and this is a huge game. I mean, the expectations here were very, very high going into the season. And it was somewhat of a disappointing performance on Monday night. And so, being a home game, your arch rivals are coming in. Both teams need it. I would have to say probably if you look at it, the Cowboys on the road have to feel pretty good because it was a close football game. The Redskins have to feel like they have to prove something to their home fans.
Joe, did Monday night change the way you felt about Kirk Cousins being the real deal?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think that Kurt sometimes gets a little geeked up, and that was the thing. I talked to somebody about this before the game. I said I just want to see him try and relax, and I think he's going to have that first game jitters out. You take 8 months off, and it's not like riding a bike. Sometimes you just hop back on it and go. It takes a little while to get into the rhythm. To do the things that you want to do. But I'm sure he's going to play a lot better. No, it hasn't changed my opinion of him.
But you think he's a guy who can lead them even after this year with a long-term contract?
I think he can. I think he's got to prove it, though. I mean, he put all his chips on the table this year. You go back to Joe Flacco in Baltimore when they won the World Championship. He played as a free agent. Kirk's playing under a franchise tag. And when you talk about options, you have to look around and say, if he's not the guy, who is it? Colt's not a youngster anymore. McCoy. Nate Sudfeld is just a baby in this game. He's a young guy. So, you figure he's been around enough. He's seen enough. He's been in big games. He's played the Cowboys both at your place and here. So, I expect him to play well. I expect him to play a lot better. But, it all depends on what goes on around you. I thought, for example, Dak played really well against the Giants. I thought he played a really solid football game, but you still wound up losing the football game. So it isn't just that one individual.
Joe Theismann joins us here at 105 through the Fan. You talk about Dak Prescott. Is the Cowboys offense, a little too conservative with him? They need to open things up a little bit more?
You can't say conservative, but you can only give someone so much at the early stages of a career. I mean, people don't appreciate the multiplicity of defenses and the schemes and the speed of the game. It's entirely different. I mean, he looked very comfortable through the preseason. But there's four different stages of speed in the National Football League, as I've seen it. You have the preseason, where everybody's very vanilla, trying to find out what's going on. People are thinking a lot, so they're not reacting. Then you get into the regular season, where now you get the starters, you get the speed, you get the athleticism. Then you move on into the playoffs, and now you're playing a really good football team, and it notches it up one other level. And then you get in a Super Bowl, and it takes it to another level. So the speed of the game, the decisions that have to be made, all those things factor into, I think, to the four different processes that you face through the league. I think with Dak, they're going to move along, and Scott's going to move him along in a way that he feels comfortable that he can get things done. I think the big thing about the Cowboys, and this goes back to Bill Callahan, is they built one heck of an offensive line. I mean, it's tough to find a better offensive line in football than the Dallas Cowboys. Alfred Morris, we are very familiar with him here in Washington. Great kid, great runner. And Ezekiel Elliott just showed a lot of pop and a lot of speed and a lot of get up and go. And the Redskins' Achilles heel the other night against Pittsburgh was stopping the run. So this is going to be a great challenge. And when you can run the football, you don't need 300 plays. You need 3. Oddly enough, I'll go back to when we played. Yeah, we had 30 and 50 gut, 60 and 70 outside, 60 and 70 counter trade. That was 70% of our run offense. If you execute and run well, and go all the way back to Vince Lombardi, the sweep, get outside with Jim Taylor and Paul Hornung, all that kind of stuff. The game hasn't changed in that aspect that much.
Joe, you yourself had to try to come back from a devastating knee injury that well documented and lamented and scrutinized. Now Tony Romo's in a situation where he's got to try to come back from a third serious back surgery and back injury. He's 36. Do you think we're going to see him play again? And if you can guess, do you think he should even try, given the type of severity of injuries that he's sustained in his career?
After Tony got hurt, I made this statement, and I stand by it. I don't think Tony should play football anymore. I care a lot about Tony Romo, the man, the father, the husband. He's established himself. He has nothing to prove down in Dallas. A lot of guys leave this game without a ring, okay? That's not the whole thing. It's you want to be able to walk away from the game. And I think in Tony's case, we're just talking about his back, but how fragile is that shoulder still? If he comes back and plays, he's going to land on it. That's just the nature of our game. Something's going to happen. And what jumped out at me the night he got hurt was it looked like he was laboring, trying to get away. And you can't be a sitting duck back there. I worry about Tony Romo, the man. Like I said, I don't think he has anything to prove. He's had multiple back surgeries. He's got that shoulder. He doesn't have to prove how tough a guy he is. He's one of the toughest warriors that's ever played this game. And I worry about him as a person. I care for him as a guy that I don't want to see have something happen to his back so that he can't enjoy the rest of his life. So I think that, for me, you let him continue to rehab. You work hard because you're not going to be in a better facility with better trainers, better doctors than what Tony's going to get down there with the Cowboys. So you continue to improve. You continue, in your mind, I want to play. But I think that in the best interest of Tony Romo, that he should not play football again.
Joe, Josh Norman was criticized yesterday by Victor Cruz and Janoris Jenkins for not following Antonio Brown around. Will he follow Dez Bryant this week?
I love to hear players criticize a player when they don't even know what the heck's going on the defensive side of the football on a different football team. But it's part of the rhetoric with Victor. You got Victor Cruz. You got Odell Beckham. Dez has been, interestingly quiet down there, I guess you guys could say. I mean, he's, it's like, I'd put Dez in that category as Odell and all the other great receivers in this league. I mean, Josh gets, the defense gets Antonio Brown week 1. You get Dez Bryant week 2. You get Odell Beckham week 3. I mean, you're talking about 3 of the best receivers in the game of football. And it's, Bashaud Breeland, the first touchdown pass that Antonio catches goes right between Bashaud's hands. I mean, that's a turning point in the game. And I don't care who they are. You just can't cover these guys one-on-one.
But, Joe, does it not drive you crazy that Norman isn't following? Why isn't he following Antonio?
I don't know the answer, but I know that, like Richard Sherman, for example, plays the left side.
Right.
Remember Tom Moore. I'll give you an example. Tom Moore, when he was the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, Lynn Swann played on one side of the field. John Taylor played on the other, or the other wide receiver. But when Tom was in Pittsburgh, he had a left and right receiver. Teams, I think Seattle. Richard, I think, plays on the left side a lot. Josh plays on the left side. And so you look at different setups and schemes defensively. I would guess maybe they might move him around a little bit. Maybe he went into Joe Barry, our defensive coordinator, and said, "Joe, look, give me a shot at the guy. Give me a shot at Dez. If we're going to go man, if we're going to go one-on-one, give me a shot." It's not a slam on Bashaud, but the thing is you got to do what you need to do to win. And that game, that game was really determined by D'Angelo Williams and the offensive line Monday night of the Pittsburgh Steelers more than anything else. Ben made some great throws. Antonio made a great catch. The last touchdown is a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with the reaction of the kid that caught it. It's like, whoa, here's the ball. I got it. But to listen to other defensive backs say, well, this guy should have been there, should have been that. They have no clue what the scheme of the Redskins are defensively.
Joe Theismann here on The Fan. Before we let you go, your opinion on this Colin Kaepernick issue.
I stand by what I said before is every person has the right to be able to express themselves in their own way. I think that's why you fight. That's why that flag is out there, for the freedom to be able to do what Colin has done by making. I don't agree with it. I respect our flag tremendously. I respect the people. And when you say you don't want to disrespect the people, the veterans, you are. You may not want to, but that's basically what you are, because that flag represents a lot. And let me say, we have problems in this country, okay? And, the things that they're protesting. But what happens if the police weren't there? What happens if our military didn't fight and defend our freedoms? This is a great country. There are a lot of people that have sacrificed for him to have the opportunity to do what he's doing. And they ought to stop and think about that. Colin Kaepernick has raised an awareness into professional sports and basically said, hey, look, this is something that needs to be done. I respect tremendously Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony went to Baltimore after the Freddie Gray incident and situation, and he protested. And then he went and represented the United States of America in the Olympics and brought us home a gold medal. I think it's, to me, I'm so proud of the guys that walked out and held the flag. It wasn't a protest. It was each individual player making a choice of what they want to do in their life. And that's really what we've become. It's a group of individuals making decisions. Like I said, Colin has the right to do exactly what he does. I don't agree with it in the least. I think it's, I think in the workplace you have a job to do. But yet we've seen this. It's not the first time we've seen athletes do that. The Cavaliers did it. The Giants have done it. The Rams did it. There are players who have decided that they want to use this forum to be able to express their opinions. And like I said, that's what that flag represents. It's sort of it's a little bit of an hypocrisy. You don't respect the flag, but you respect what the flag has done for you.
Great stuff as always, Joe. We love having you on, man. Enjoy Sunday. Thank you so much.
I hope we get to enjoy Sunday, guys.
The great Joe Theismann on the AA Best Bail Bonds phone line. Why do you have to hang up on me?
Why did you not set me up?
Why did you? I'm not going to do this.
Listen, I was in the studio. RJ and Mac, you guys know.
Yeah.
I dabble in death metal, right?
Yes, you do.
And I had a song ready for Joe.
No,
I was going to present
guy's
this.
leg like a pretzel.
What? This is a great song.
Broken leg.
He wanted to play that to Theismann.
Broken leg.
He does have a sense of humor, guys.
Sing. I got broken leg.
Death growls, man. Eric Dickerson joining us here on 105.3 The Fan, the great running back, Rams and Colts, and plenty on the Rams debut. But Eric, appreciate you popping on with us. Wanted to get your thoughts on a couple things. I know you and Ezekiel Elliott have been kind of joking back and forth about the rookie rushing record. What do you think about that? What do you think about his chances of getting this? It didn't start off too well.
My rookie season, I started okay. I had 91 yards on like 27 carries. We played the Giants, but when you look at that game, he really had nowhere to go. I got to give the defense credit, and I give him credit for running hard. But a record like that is hard to get. And I'm not saying he can't get it; it's possible. You don't have to have a gangbuster game the first week, but it is a chance. Do I want him to get it? Absolutely not. And I told him that. I said, I don't want you to get that record. I said, I'm going to be honest with you.
We always think, and we take this for granted, that it's easy. It's easier to jump into the NFL as a running back than a quarterback or a wide receiver. Is that true, or is that just bunk?
Nah, it's a little bit easier because everything for us is by instinct. But the hard thing for a running back is sometimes the speed of the game. The holes open and close so fast. And picking up blitz protection and running the routes and thinking you can outrun a guy that's, say a linebacker, and you'd be surprised the linebacker's running right there with you. In college, you could do that, but in the pros, you can't. Those are a few things that you have to get used to. We don't have to read defenses like a quarterback. You do have to know the defensive fronts and where you're supposed to go in your pickups, but it's a little hard, I think. It's a lot harder for a quarterback than a running back.
Sealy, Texas native Eric Dickerson joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Thanks to FedEx Air and Ground Awards. All right, a couple more Cowboy questions. First, why do you think that they can't seem to get Dez Bryant open when he's double covered?
Man, it's hard when you double covered. I mean, it really is. I mean, you think about it, you've got two men on one man, and say if you try, someone else needs to get open. I mean, Dez is such a dynamic player. Dez is he's not fast like Antonio Brown. He doesn't have that kind of foot speed, but he has great hands. But it seems like they can't find anyone else but him.
That's true. When a backup quarterback plays like Dak, it seems like they're putting a leash on him. In your experience, when you throw a backup in there, should you just kind of let him run the same offense, or do you need to kind of be more conservative with your calling?
When you look at that, he threw the ball 45 times or 43 times. I wouldn't call that putting a leash on a young quarterback. I wouldn't. If I'm putting a leash on him, he throws the ball maybe 20 times, and we run it more. But, I think they gave him what they had, and I think the Giants just played really good, solid football. I think that's what happened in that game. They made some mistakes, but, that's football. It's a game of turnovers. It's a game of, penalties. Things like that can win or lose a game for you. And especially when it's a close football game, penalties and turnovers play a big factor in those games.
Yeah, it just seems like he maybe throw the ball downfield more. Certainly not the leash from a attempt standpoint. Eric Dickerson joining us here on 105 through the Fan. All right, but keeping an eye on your Twitter feed. Some things that you've been burning on lately. Cam Newton, is he getting shortchanged in the penalty department?
Oh, most definitely. Man, some of the hits, I'm like, come on, man. First thing I said, that was Tom Brady. It'd be flags coming out the stand. They do it to Cam because he's a big guy. He runs, and it's almost like, well, they think he can take it. But he's a quarterback. He's just like any other quarterback. Some of those shots were late, and there should have been some flags.
I think you're right. Especially when Brandon Marshall, he left his feet. How is that not a flag?
Right. They call it right. They call it launching yourself. And that's and when we played, you can launch yourself. You can't do that anymore in the NFL.
Absolutely not. Eric Dickerson here on 105 through the Fan. Who's a running back you like to keep an eye on in the league other than Zeke? Who's someone in the college game too that you're keeping an eye on for when they move into the NFL? Who's a couple of running backs you really like?
Fournette for sure. I'm watching him when he comes out. I like watching AP. Most definitely Todd Gurley. What's the young man at Stanford? I can't think of the running back there. I like him a lot. I can't think of his name.
McCaffrey.
But McCaffrey, right? His dad played McCaffrey. I think that the two college players to watch. I think is McCaffrey and Fournette coming out of college.
You are in love with Ricky Seals-Jones down at A&M. We get to see a lot of him. What do you like about him?
Well, first of all, it's my cousin.
Oh, there you go.
That's my cousin, so I got to keep up with it. And I'm not just saying this. When you see Ricky, he's such a good-looking athlete. And Keenan McCarty will work with him this year, this offseason with his footwork. And I said, Keenan, now when you see him, you're going to be surprised how big he is. And I'm not talking about big, I'm talking about cut. And he called me after he worked out. He said, Eric, this guy is a big receiver. I said, yes, he is. I said, he could even be a tight. He said, he's big and a good-looking athlete. So that's why I keep up with my cousin for sure.
What is your take on the Colin Kaepernick situation? Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. If I have, I've forgotten it. My thing is that, look, every guy has the right to do what he wants to do, what he thinks is right. I think it's hurting him in some areas. I think that he might have been. I think he'd have been in Minnesota right now with Teddy Bridgewater going down, but they won't touch it. Maybe even Denver at one point. They won't touch it. I think you have the right to do what you want to do. For me, sports, I think, is just not that place to do it because sports is supposed to be like a relief from all the stress and struggle for the fans. As a player, he's trying to make a point. Will I think it changed anything? No, I think people just, he can do it.
Eric, before we get to FedEx Air and Ground Awards, your Rams back in L.A., back where you used to play, different stadium, of course. That was probably the worst debut I think I've ever seen, though, right?
Man, I'm 100% with you. I text Jackie Slater. I say, what in the world? Since that's his saying. He texts me basically, Eric, I can't defend anybody. What in the world? I mean, it was awful. I mean, it was like watching Alabama play my poor school SMU right now. I mean, it was like they were just overmatched. And I'm like, San Francisco is not that good, but they beat us to death, and it was embarrassing. And hopefully, this week, this Sunday, they play the Seattle Seahawks. They can do a lot better job. They'll have to.
Can you? I mean, how many weeks can you actually go in LA and lose and still have fans come out to the game?
If they lose like they did last week, it's going to get very ugly very fast. I'm going to tell you that right now, real fast. I mean, if it was another like 28-0 or 30-3, something like that, it's gonna get ugly quick because the fans they're not gonna come. I mean, they won't. I mean, they're happy to have football back, and then they'll say, you know what, I'll just go watch the Giants play. I'm just coming to see the other team play, not even watch the Rams play. I mean, there'll be more of the other team's fans. That's the sad thing about LA. We don't have the loyal fans like they do in Pittsburgh or Green Bay, and we have great fans, but you've got to win. If you're winning, man, they love you. It's LA. They love you. If you're losing, I just gotta go to the beach. I'll go hiking.
Very, very true. Eric Dickerson joined us here thanks to FedEx Air and Ground Awards. Tell us what's going on with that.
We got the FedEx Air and Ground Awards. This is 14th season they're doing it, and they're also supporting the USO. Each week, a fan gets to vote on Twitter and NFL /FedEx for the best quarterback and running back. So you got three running backs and three quarterbacks. $2,000 gets donated in their names, the running back's name and the quarterback's name. So it's a total of $4,000. I think it's a good thing. So that is what we're doing. And you can also use Twitter at AirGround and nominate the players by their last name.
Eric, man, we appreciate it. We love you in these parts. Sealy, Texas, SMU, and the cousin of Ricky Seals-Jones down at A&M. Thanks for popping on with us, man.
Hey, thank you.
You know, we've been talking a lot of Dallas Cowboys football today, and, you know, you're on assignment yesterday, but you've probably had a chance to at least see a little bit of what Dak Prescott did yesterday and hear some of the reaction and stuff. So how do you evaluate a rookie quarterback's first performance in that game?
Actually, I have the Giants next weekend, so I've actually had an opportunity to watch the whole game since I've been back in town. So, again, just the way he handles himself in the course of the game with the poise and the confidence and, continues to exceed expectations for a young guy coming out of a system that's going to be very, very difficult to, change and move forward to with the way that they play in the NFL. So I thought he did a good job. The guys around him, the supporting cast, one of the things that I felt going into the season with a rookie quarterback is he would be okay because he had a great supporting cast around him, and they just need to help him out a little bit more. They got to find a way to get the ball to Dez. You got to make the plays when the opportunity is there to make them. That offensive line has got to help Ezekiel out a little bit more. And this is not to say this is a very, very different Giants defense than last season. We had them the last game of the year, and watching that defense play, they are so much better than they were last year. And it seems like everybody that they picked up in the off season to help them solidify their defense played extremely well. Olivier Vernon, Snacks inside, at the defensive tackle, Janoris Jenkins, everybody that they brought in to fill a void played very, very well against Dallas yesterday.
All right, so we may have romanticized this idea considerably, but, the idea of the quarterback in today's NFL, the good ones, where are you right now? What's going on over there?
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
I was just walking through the kitchen and feeding my 16-year-old son with a bottomless pit.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. We're used to those sounds at our own houses. Okay, so we may have romanticized this idea, but the idea of the polished veteran quarterback in today's NFL, what they're capable of doing as almost an on-field offensive coordinator from the time the huddle breaks and those 12 seconds that they have before the snap of the ball. It just seems like a veteran quarterback it has that defense in the palm of their hand. They're like, ha, what are you running? All right, here's my new play. That original play was just a suggestion. If that's true and we're accurate about how we've romanticized that, then a rookie quarterback just stands such little chance of being able to, I don't know, out chess match an NFL defense, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a romance. I think there's a lot of truth to it. We in our game we had Matthew Stafford and Andrew Luck. Obviously Matthew 8 or 9 years in the league. Andrew starting his 5th year in the league. There's a lot of confidence. There's a lot of confidence from the offensive coordinator to the quarterbacks in that situation to allow them that ability at the line of scrimmage, and we saw it quite a bit during our game. So, and the majority of the time, 60% of the time, 70% of the time, when they're audibling at the line of scrimmage, it was a productive play. They're getting out of that negative play. But for me, and I look at it from now a young quarterback as opposed to a system, because I agree with you. It seems like if you've got a quarterback who's played in the league for a number of years, there's more confidence in the coordinator to give him a little bit more freedom at the line of scrimmage to change the play. Where back when we played, that was not the case. You had a play called in the huddle. You might have to check with me. I like kind of the, running the call play, having the ability to get out of a dead play. Just, you're running right into a blitz, or the protection you have is not going to protect you in that blitz, so you move it to something else. But wholesale changes sometimes, that's something new for me. I'm getting used to it and watching that style of play in the league today, because it was not the case in our offense here in Dallas, and we had success. So it's something I've gotten used to. But I agree. I think we'll have Drew Brees and Eli Manning this weekend. That's going to be exactly what you talked about. You break the huddle, you come to the line of scrimmage. The defense is trying to hold that disguise as long as they possibly can to prevent you from getting into a play, knowing that both Eli and Drew will be able to pull a play out that exposes what coverage you're playing, what blitz you're bringing. So I don't think what you guys are talking about is too far-fetched as a romance. I think it's just reality in the NFL today.
Talking to Daryl Moose Johnston here on the Ben and Skin Show, courtesy of Townies Ford and the Leather Sofa Company. So with what you're getting ready for the Giants for next week, are they significantly better than you thought they may be? We all know that they spend a ton of money on defense, but their offensive line is suspect. Are they the team to reckon with, you think, in the NFC East, or do you still think it's the Skins?
Well, I think the NFC East now may be a little bit stronger top to bottom than we thought. Philadelphia was impressive. I know it was Cleveland. Hugh Jackson's trying to turn that around, but that was impressive by Philadelphia. The Giants, I have friends that are Giants fans, and they told me they would be good offensively, especially at the wide receiver position. So you can spend a lot of money on defense. You can spend a lot of money in free agency, but that doesn't mean you're always going to get that return on your investment. So, the Giants were very, very savvy in who they brought in. And it looks as though they're going to get that return on their investment. So right now, I'd say, in a couple more weeks, even with Dallas, it's a 1-point loss with, just a player that makes a mistake at the end of the game that takes away the most accurate kicker in the league right now with an opportunity to win the game 22-20. So, does that automatically mean the Giants are the team to beat? I don't know. Dallas with a rookie quarterback, had an opportunity to win that game if the right decisions are made at the end. So, I'm not ready to give this to the New York Giants. I think we'll know after that first quarter of the season where everything stands. I think we'll have a better idea where Dallas is when they play Washington this weekend. So I think the jury's still out, but I think the one thing you can say walking away is the NFC East is going to be a little bit closer from top to bottom than I thought they were going to be at the start of the season.
We're talking to Daryl Moose Johnston on the Ben and Skin Show, 105.3 The Fan. This visit brought to you by Townies Ford and the Leather Sofa Company. So obviously there's some frustration about Dez Bryant not getting the ball enough. You cover all these teams in the NFL. Somehow these top receivers, whether it's A.J. Green or you name it, Julio Jones, they always figure out a way to get these number ones the ball. However, it seems like it's easy somehow for Dez to get shut out here. Now, granted, a lot of it, he's been hurt some of last year, and now there's been a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Now you're dealing with a rookie. But do you think the Cowboys need to get more creative in making sure their best offensive player gets to touch the ball more?
Yeah, I think when you see some of the other guys having the success, they're moved throughout the formation. So, and not having seen it, but knowing that Dez has come, leaps and strides from where he was early in his career with the ability to move throughout the formation. That's the best way to do it. They got a couple of matchups on safeties against the Giants with Dez one-on-one, and those are the ones you have to make sure you take advantage of. Very close to making the play in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. Wasn't able to complete the process of the catch again. And for me, Dez is such an emotional player that if he makes a big catch like that early in the game, that kind of feeds that emotion that he plays with. And you're probably going to see more production coming off of that. But you also have to credit defensive coordinators. Steve Spagnuolo coming into that game, he told his defense, we are not going to get beat by Dez, and we are not going to get beat by this running game. Somebody else is going to have to beat us. Cole Beasley, Terrence Williams, even Jason Witten at this stage of his career. I want to shut down Dez, and I want to stop this running game. We'll roll the dice with Jason at this stage of his career, and we'll make one of those guys beat us. And when you've got a coordinator that's doing that, he's just not going to let Dez take the game over. Janoris Jenkins is a very, very good corner. He's got a lot of swagger to him, plays with a ton of confidence. It's not just all on the scheme. It's more, you have to credit, the defensive coordinators when something like that happens and understand what his mindset was coming into the game. I guarantee you on Saturday night, he told Eli Apple, Janoris Jenkins, all the guys in the secondary, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, this guy is not going to beat us. I don't want to see the X tomorrow. I don't want to see 88 celebrating in the end zone. We're going to shut him down. And if that weakens us somewhere else, so be it. Let's see if one of those guys can beat us.
Moose, one of the best parts of football season for us is reconnecting with you, my man. Looking forward to doing this every week. Thank you for your time, brother.
You're welcome, guys. I'm looking forward to always a good time on Mondays.
Boom. That man is a beast. Daryl Moose Johnston. You hear him every Monday at 5:15 right here on the Ben and Skin Show.
Well, you got to see the Cowboys up close in their opener against the Giants. Our takeaways have been pretty much like everyone else. The Giants looked better. Cowboys certainly had their chances. But just at the quarterback position, let's start there. How did you think the rookie played for the Cowboys?
I thought he played really well. I really did. I thought that he would going into the game. I was very impressed with him. When I talked to you guys last Thursday, I had not yet met Dak. I met him the following day in our production meetings, and like everything I'd heard, just really an impressive young man, and I felt that coming out of that this guy really seems to be pretty relaxed and really prepared. And I saw him just before the game, had the same thoughts. I just felt that he was going to play well, and I thought that he did. And in fact, I had commented to Joe, we were at a commercial break, and I said, geez, you kind of forget that the kid's playing his first game ever. He was so poised in the way that he handled things. I really didn't sense that they were doing anything to hold him back, and I thought the way that he opened up the game was good. I commented on it during the broadcast. I felt that, Scott Linehan did a good job of mixing things up. I know what the game plan was for the Giants defensively, and they allowed him to throw on some early downs. It wasn't just waiting until third downs. And I was impressed with him. And, obviously they lose the game, but, Dak Prescott, in my opinion anyway, he's not the reason why that happened. I was happy for him the way that he came out in his first start.
You guys had the note on the broadcast, it may have been from Ed Werder, that Dak had told somebody on Friday night that he was ready to go, that he could have played the game then because he was so well prepared and that he didn't even need a wristband with the plays on it or anything like that. Is that maybe the underrated part of playing quarterback in the NFL? Everyone talks about the arm strength or the mobility or the size, but preparation arguably could be the most important aspect, could it not?
Well, I think the preparation is, but I think that what ultimately defines a guy's success, beyond the obvious of does he have good players around him, is really kind of his makeup, and how he's wired. I've been around a lot of guys, more now in broadcasting, since I get to see a broad spectrum of different types of quarterbacks, young guys making their first starts, veteran guys that you've heard about. I know the league better. I know the guys better certainly now than I did when I played. And the one thing that's interesting to me is when I hear someone say, hey, this quarterback, and we're talking about an NFL quarterback, and they say, hey, he can make all the throws. I really don't know what that means. I mean, there's only 32 of these jobs. I mean, how can someone not be able to make all the throws? And so I think sometimes these cliches come out. Yeah, you can do this. You know, they all can do that. You know, I mean, all these guys can throw the ball. You know, some a little bit better than others, but all these guys are talented. And once you get beyond the supporting cast, I really think it's a matter of, you know, how the guys are just, you know, prepared to go play and how they handle making difficult decisions under duress. And that ultimately is what determines, you know, whether a guy can be successful at this level and how well they process information in short periods of time and under a lot of stress because of the moments of those games. And for Dak being around him, that's why I say I've come out of meetings with young quarterbacks and I've walked out and said this guy does not have a chance in this game. I'm just telling you. And they go out there and they don't play well. And you can just tell they're nervous, they're anxious, and things have to go really well for them early in order to get them to calm down. I didn't sense that at all with Dak, and I really believe they have something with him. You know, it's one game. He's got a long way to go, but the early signs, he's one of the more impressive young quarterbacks I've been around.
So they go to Washington. It's only the second game of the season, but there's still 40 guys or so on this team that were on last year's team that has now lost 13 of 15 games. You certainly don't want to start the season at 0-2. I don't know. Where do you think they're at mentally, having gone through what they went through last year and then having a heartbreak in week number 1?
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's so much importance placed on week 1 because you have so much time to get ready for that game that when you fail to win it, it's pretty demoralizing. And I do think that, you know, even though it's not a must-win, it just puts that much more pressure on those teams that are 0-1 to go out then and win in week 2. I think for Dallas, the good thing for them this week is it is an opponent that they've had success against. It's a venue where they've had success. I guess you know, the road teams won this game a lot here in recent years, and for Dallas, I guess that bodes well in terms of how you know, confident they feel. But yet there are some guys at key positions, whether that's Ezekiel Elliott or Dak Prescott, like we talked about, that have yet to play there. So, you know, how does that bode with them? But you know, the overall mood of the team, I would have to believe that after last year, I mean, and we say last year, we keep pointing back to 2014 and act like, well, that's the way that it's always been. And then last year was the anomaly. And, I mean, yes, last year was unusual in the fact that it was 4-12, but this has been a pretty average football team, with the exception of 2014 in recent years. And so, I hear players say the right things. The coaches are always confident that what they're doing is going to give their team the best chance. You know, players always say the right things. They always believe that they're going to win. But deep down, if you haven't won enough, you know, where are you then going in? But I think the way that game went yesterday or on Sunday, it wasn't where they weren't in it and it kind of shown that, gosh, I mean, we thought we were going to be this, but we're not anywhere close. You look at the numbers, and you guys, I'm sure, have been talking about it all week long, that they should have dominated that game. If you just looked at the stat sheet and didn't watch the game, you'd say the Cowboys, they dominated this game. But it simply came down to not being able to cash in when they got down there early on some long drives. But I would believe that this team is still fairly confident with it being as early as it is in the season and knowing that they've still got a lot of football ahead of them.
It's our weekly football visit with the Hall of Famer, Troy Aikman, here on the ticket. It was a pretty good year for Kirk Cousins last year. They got to the playoffs. He had some really good games. He had a really bad game in their opener on Monday night. Where are you on Kirk Cousins?
Well, I like Kirk. I like him coming out of Michigan State. I know Kirk. I like him as a guy. I think he's a talented player. He's a very smart guy, very conscientious. He works hard. He wants to be great. I mean, all those things. He lost a game in one of his starts a few years ago. I thought he played great, and then he threw a costly interception at the very end of the game. I texted him the next morning and just say, hey, I thought you played great, and it was unfortunate. It was really the only poor throw that he made. And his comment back to me was, hey, he says, if you're going to be great, you got to play big in those situations. And I thought it was telling of the type of guy that he was. So I was happy for him last year to have the year that he had, but I do know that as a fourth-round pick, he was always putting a lot of pressure on himself to when he did get his opportunity to play, he wanted to play so well so that he could ultimately get the big contract, and be a franchise-type quarterback. And then he goes out last year and he had that type season, and he didn't sign the long-term deal. And that still surprises me that he didn't do that. And I think now he puts pressure on himself again going into this season to live up to what he did last year. I think that's just, I talked earlier about the way a guy is wired. I think Kirk is someone who puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I think sometimes that comes out in his play, and that he wants to be so perfect. And sometimes you can take that too far, and so that's what I see from him. But I do like him as a quarterback. I like what he has around him to have success, and I think Jay Gruden and that staff offensively, I think they're really good on that side of the ball too. So he's got a chance. But you're right. On Monday night, he did not play well, and they know in order for them to do what they did last year, he's going to.
One of these two NFC East division teams that think of themselves as a prime contender to win the NFC East will exit this game 0-2. Now, just from a perspective standpoint, I sure prefer getting the seeds beaten out of my melon by Pittsburgh than losing at home to the Giants by 1.
Yes.
Just to put the two losses in perspective. But now let's put the Redskins in perspective. Only a decade ago, Joe Gibbs was still coaching this team. Yes.
That was his second run, right?
Second run. And then he went back to NASCAR for good. And in 2008 and 2009, Jim Zorn took over. He went 8-8, and then he went 4-12, and he was gone.
And he went bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mike Shanahan took over, and he went 6-10 and 5-11, and the seat got hotter and hotter. He started the 2012 season 3-6. So at that point under Shanahan, his team was 14-27. And the year before he came in, they were 4-12. So they were 18-39 over 3.5 years. This is pigsty stuff. And then the lightning struck. RG3, the Redskins, from 3-6 went to 10-6. They won 7 games in a row. And the future looked great. It looked just great.
It wasn't the game against Dallas that started that, was it? I'll have to go back and look at that.
I'm not certain what game started the run.
I just remember RG3 coming to AT&T Stadium and lighting them up.
That never happens.
Yeah, just join the list. Get in line.
So they win 7 in a row. In 2 months, they win 7 in a row. Then they lose the playoff game. But this team with great hope then went 3-13. And Shanahan got fired with the oddest donut of a career you've ever seen. Around that stretch where he went 7-0, he went 17-41. So it was like Cinderella's story, you know? I mean, they suddenly popped up and disappeared again, and now he's gone. So Jay Gruden takes over. And Jay Gruden goes 4-12. Oh, Lord. And in 2015, they were 5-7 and looked like going nowhere. And it strikes again. They win 4 games in a row. And they went just like the 2012 team. This stretch at the end of the season gets them a playoff spot, and then again they disappear. So if you look at Jay Gruden and say, what's your record here? Well, you were 9-19 until that little stretch hit. And now you're 0-2 since. It's a pattern so reminiscent of Shanahan. But the key to last year was Kirk Cousins. You realize he was the number one quarterback in the NFL from a percentage completion last year.
74%?
Right at 70. Right, no,
okay,
right at 70.
Okay.
69.8, okay?
Right.
The funny thing about that Redskin team and the one that went 4-12 the year before, the Redskins' offense was slightly worse and the defense was slightly worse. But the record was 9-7. They couldn't agree on a new contract, so Cousins accepts $19.35 million to work 1 year, which I'd like to point out Donovan would do.
Gladly.
In the offseason, they lose a lot of names you're familiar with. Terrence Knighton, RG3, Jason Hatcher, Deshaun Golson, Chris Gulliver, Frank Kurse, Keenan Robinson, Perry Riley, who started 63 games at middle linebacker, Stephen Paella, Alfred Morris. They're all gone from that team. And what they replaced them with is a bunch of money for the cornerback Josh Norman, $36.5 million guaranteed, by the way. And then they sign a lot of veteran spare part types to fill holes. Their wide receiver number 1 pick, Josh Doxson, was taken with an eye to the future, not the present, because the present receiver core is really good. Pierre Garçon, Deshaun Jackson, Jamison Crowder, Jordan Reed. You can take the Redskins receiver core and make a case for it being one of the top 5 in the NFL. That's a lot of talent. Because Crowder's a terrific number 3, and Jordan Reed is a terrific tight end.
They're really tiny, but they're really good.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The question, though, remains, was last year an aberration for both the club and the quarterback? What was the question after RG's first year? Was that 7-game win streak an aberration? RG then got hurt, everything unraveled, and it went south. What the Cowboys must face this week, however, is the realization that the offensive line they face this week is one in which the Redskins have invested in. They drafted Trent Williams. They drafted Morgan Moses. They drafted Brandon Scherf. They've spent like the Cowboys on a big offensive line, hoping that that is a unit they can trust. The question here still becomes Cousins. He was wildly inaccurate against the Steelers. He looked like the old Kirk Cousins that people worried about.
He looked impatient.
Yes.
Because it seems like Pittsburgh played a lot of zone defense against him, and they do have a lot of short passes in their arsenal. That's why their completion percentage is really, really high. They don't go deep a lot, but he couldn't get those wide receivers open. And early in the game against Pittsburgh, they drove the ball against them. And they did it with the tight end, Jordan Reed, who's really, really good. And they kind of got away from that the rest of the game. And then Pittsburgh knew once they got ahead that Washington was just going to throw, and they adjusted to it. And they had no running game against Pittsburgh at all.